Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. And sitting right over here, ladies and gentlemen, he is writer, director, producer. You can catch his latest project that he's worked on, Dota, on Netflix. He is one Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, you know what? We're this much closer to the Batman.
Tuesday. What day is it today? Thursday?
It's Thursday, bro.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. 5 days until we get to see the Batman. I'm very excited.
The world premiere was last night in London.
Yep. And we're going to talk about the first reactions that have come out from it.
Seeing Paul Dano, you told me you hit me to that clip this morning. I mean, how excited are we, John?
We're pretty damn excited. We are pretty damn excited. All right. Also joining us, sitting right beside him, he is also always so excited. He's joining you guys in the live chat today, of course. Going to be hanging out with you guys there. Mr. Ray Ora. Ray, how you doing?
Hey, I'm already drinking my Red Bull, getting ready for that Batman.
By the way, you finally watched Free Guy.
Oh, yeah.
How did you like it?
Loved it.
Isn't that movie great?
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I liked it. It's a good time.
Do you sleep at all?
Huh?
You sleep at all?
No.
No sleeping?
No, because there's a lot of explosions and like sounds and everything that I couldn't sleep.
Just checking.
Yeah.
And sitting beside him, she's got a car, and it works, and it got her here. Chris Carr is here. Chris, how you doing?
I'm so good. I have a window again. Shout out to the wonderful people at P&G Glass in the Valley. They were so nice. They fixed my window and came to me. They fixed my passenger mirror for free because that also got knocked off. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Man, Jose just felt real bad for me. He just looked at my car and was like, "Oh, you're having a bad time, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah, I really am."
And of course, guys, it is great to have you here joining us, and a little bit of how today's show is going to go. We break it into two parts. In the first half of the show, we talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second half of the show, we take your live comments and questions. If you'd like to get in a live comment or question, just simply use the super chat feature in the live chat. So obviously you have to be watching the show live while you're doing it, and get in fast because the super chats are almost full already. I'm going to be shutting it down in about a minute. So if you got something to add about any of the topics today or anything, fire it in there right away. But also, listen, guys, if you watch the show any of the other 22 hours during the day, you can also send in a question for Rob or I, or both of us, to discuss on our mailbag show that we do 2 to 3 times a week. If you want to get in a comment or question, you're not watching live, and you want it on mailbag, simply go down to the description of this video. You'll see a tip link. Click on that there, or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on our show if we deem your question appropriate to be used on mailbag. And of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time, and all of us involved with the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for your support. Also, some house cleaning. Don't forget, guys, if you need your audio-only version of the John Campea Show and you can't be in front of a YouTube video, there is a podcast version of the show. We simply call the John Campea Show podcast. Just go on your favorite podcasting app of choice, subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it. And also, don't forget, we have launched our new show, Movie Club, that we do once. We've already got 3 episodes down.
It's burning up the charts, John.
Yeah, and it's doing great. It debuted in like the top 10 on Apple Podcasts and all that kind of stuff. Well, if you want a podcast version of that, and you want to get caught up on it in audio format, just go on your favorite podcasting app and search for Movie Club, a John Campea Show podcast. Go find it, subscribe to it. Thank you to all the people who subscribe to it already, and we appreciate your support coming along for us in that. And we are loving doing Movie Club. And don't forget, the next installment of Movie Club is going to be this coming Tuesday before we go see Batman. And we're going to be talking about the granddaddy of all adventure films, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So you guys got a few days to get caught up on Raiders of the Lost Ark to come back and join us.
Which Ray hasn't seen, inexplicably.
Which is awesome. I'm kind of excited.
I'm so jealous
I'm
of you.
kind of excited he's going to get to watch it for the first time. And then
the bar is really high for it right now.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it is.
Uncharted, baby. What?
You know what? That's
The
fair.
bar
You
is
liked it.
Uncharted. Well, listen, Tom Rothman wouldn't disagree with you. We're going to talk about that in just a second. So, guys, before we get into anything else, let's do a couple of off the tops here, shall we? And our first one is this. One of my favorite actresses in the world is Brie Larson. I love her. I've loved her ever since 21 Jump Street. I mean, I loved her in 21 Jump Street. Then she just went on to, get an Academy Award. She's an incredible actress. Then she came out of the gate. She became Captain Marvel. Movie just made $1 billion at the box office. She's just kind of killing it. And so, at her core, what a lot of people may not know about Brie Larson is she's also very much just a geek girl. She loves all the geek stuff. I've seen her rocking Dungeons and Dragons gear. I've seen her with some Critical Role stuff. She was talking a lot about her love of Star Wars and wanting to be in a Star Wars movie. Well, now she's thinking even a little bit more. Maybe she's getting a little bit carried away because now Brie Larson is saying, well, number one, she would love to be in a Fast and the Furious movie, which is fine. She loves the Fast and the Furious movies. Great. But she thinks it would be a great idea to have the Avengers hook up with Dominic Toretto and his crew in the ultimate team-up movie in something she is calling a Gazillion-Dollar idea. This is Brie Larson coming to us from the folks over at Cinema Blend. She writes, please tell everybody I would, of course, want to be in a Fast and the Furious movie. I'm obsessed. I love them. I think they're so good, and they're so fun, and they've made me appreciate cars. I'm down to play new characters and whatever it takes, but I'm very down for a crossover moment. I think you've tapped into something that is a true love of mine, so I'd be so down. She goes on to call that the Avengers teaming up with Dominic Toretto crew would be a Gazillion-Dollar idea. Okay, now here's the strangest thing about what Brie Larson just said. She's not wrong. As dumb of an idea as this is, and I love Brie. Brie's an incredible actress. I think she's fantastic. But as great as she is, I think this is a whole bunch of crazy. But she's not completely wrong. As idiotic as I think it would be, and obviously she is saying this with tongue firmly planted in cheek, obviously. But again, there is a kernel of truth there, because as dumb of an idea as it would be to have Avengers and Dominic Toretto, if I almost said Vince Vaughn, if Vin is directing this or writing this or producing it, he's just as powerful as anybody on the Avengers. So it would be a totally even thing. And she's not wrong. It would make a ridiculous amount of money at the box office.
But a gazillion?
Gajillion.
A gajillion?
Oh, no, you're right. The quote is a gazillion. I stand corrected, Chris. It is a gazillion. I got to make sure I'm accurate.
Gajillion would be right out.
Because you'd be getting, like, the Avengers audience isn't necessarily the Fast and the Furious audience. The Fast and the Furious audience isn't necessarily the Avengers audience. There's absolutely some crossover. You put both of them. Every MCU fan would watch it. Every Fast and the Furious fan would watch it. You make all the money in the world. It would still be the dumbest idea ever. But hey, I got to admire her fandom. Got to admire her throwing it out there into the universe. Speak it into reality, if you will. Rob, you are Fast and Furious 9 notwithstanding. You're a Fast and the Furious fan.
I am.
What do you think? You got Vin Diesel going mano a mano with Thor there? What do you think?
I think there's a reason why actors are given dialogue written by other people. No, I look. I think the Fast and Furious franchise is headed in the wrong direction for me. The torpedo on the ice in The Fate of the Furious was pretty far
That was
afield.
a bit much.
And then going into space in a Fiero. Come on, man.
What?
I mean,
What
it's
are these movies?
yeah. I mean, look, I think Fast 5 is one of my favorite modern action thriller films. I loved it. It's the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious franchise. I love the drift. You know, I love the drift. Fast and Furious.
I know you love the drift.
But I think that we need a course correction, and I don't think teaming up with the Avengers is perhaps the best way to go for either team, Toretto's team or the Avengers. I really don't think they would benefit crossing over studios. It's one thing for Sony and Marvel to get together and make a Spider-Man movie. I just don't think that Universal and Disney really need to expend any time on this idea.
Okay, and I'm in a complete agreement with you.
But
do you concur that if this bad idea of a movie
I don't.
opened up this weekend, you don't think it would crack 200 million at the box office?
I think Brie Larson's totes adorbs. I have 2 Hot Toys figures of her and a Flurkin, and I'm down with Brie.
You don't think that movie would crack $200 million easily on an opening weekend? Fast and the Avengers.
No.
You don't think that would crack 200 million?
No.
You think Spider-Man would crack 250, but the Avengers meets Fast and Furious would not crack 200 million. I think you're crazy.
I don't think so.
I'm with you that it's a terrible idea, but I think you're crazy if you don't think that makes 200 million.
I think that the whole idea would finally, even movie-going audiences, even the lowest of the low bar movie-going audience member would be like, no.
Can I remind you that Transformers 4 made over $1 billion at the box office?
Yeah, but that was Transformers 4, and you have Transformers 1, 2, and 3. People love Transformers. But how much did Transformers 5 make, John?
Or which one was the last night?
5.
Was that 5? Yeah,
Yes.
It took 5 for them to finally figure it out. But I'm telling you, the first Avengers Fast and Furious movie crossover would be a terrible idea to make a lot of money. Chris, what do you think about this? You down on this? What do you think
With
of the
my
idea?
extensive Fast and Furious knowledge, as someone who has only seen Hobbs and Shaw and keeps
Which
disappointing
I
Rob.
took you to.
Yeah, we went and saw it, and I was just like, am I going to miss anything? Did I need to see the others?
Those guys aren't even part of the actual core group.
That's why I was fine. I could watch it and just go, okay, this is just a movie on its own. This seems like something Brie wants to do because it'd be really fun for her. And
Oh,
I mean,
sure, of course.
why wouldn't we want to do something like that, right? It's your adage, Rob. Wouldn't it be fun what if we did that?
Wouldn't it be cool?
If we had cool,
This would not be cool.
I don't know if it would be cool. She'd have a cool time. The whole thing though is, what would the story be like? For why? For why would this be a crossover?
It would, it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And clearly, she's obviously saying this
Yeah.
very much tongue in cheek, obviously. But
I'd love
I'm
her
just
to be in the
telling you,
franchise.
No, she's throwing it out. She's like, it's like Oprah's The Secret. Remember she was promoting The
She's
Secret?
manifesting.
Yeah,
I'm just
she's
telling you,
manifesting this
it
out
would
there.
make a ass ton of money.
I'd go see it.
And I think a lot of people would.
I mean, I'd be like, what the
listen, I'm
hell
not gonna
is
lie, it's
this?
a terrible idea. I'd go see it too.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, like a car wreck,
Exactly.
to go see it. So
I'm very attracted to those, so
Ray, you'd go see this movie, wouldn't you? If it's 90 minutes long.
Why not? Why stop here? Why don't we get a little deal with Warner Brothers? Godzilla and Kong
Godzilla
against
Kong.
Avengers?
That's it. Godzilla and Kong versus Avengers. and the
That's
Fast
a
and the
better
Furious.
idea.
Oh, now he's down with the idea.
That's a better that kaiju in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because we could get Devil Dinosaur and make it a real.
Well, I mean, there was some talk about Devil Dinosaur before. Remember
we got
that?
the Savage Land. I mean, why not?
All right, guys.
Wait. Let's
Uh-oh.
go with the more logical thing. Yeah, of course. Brie Larson in a Fast and a Furious movie. Yeah, I could see her playing the villain, like a good villain in it.
Well,
But-
yeah, now, if you're going straight up her being in a Fast and Furious movie, I agree with you. I think it's a great idea. She would make a... Look, Charlize Theron, despite the fact that the movies she's appeared in has been weak, what's her character's name?
Cypher.
I haven't seen it.
Her as Cypher is a pretty menacing kind of a character. You get somebody like a Brie Larson in there, too. I think that she could play a pretty great villain in that.
She's Charlie's sister.
Yes, because they've
That's
already
what I'm
done
thinking.
that. They've already done
It
that
all comes back
It's
to
the
family.
with Luke Evans and Jason Statham. So
Yeah.
Luke Evans was the big villain. They beat him. So his big brother comes hunting for them, kills Han. They should have kept him dead. But anyway, yes.
We just messed up the whole story. Now they gotta,
Everything's a wreck now.
They gotta go
All
back.
right, guys.
Well, they are in the process of making Fast 10.
Yes, they are. And maybe she's already on set. Question is for you guys. Obviously, she's being facetious and joking around, but what do you think?
Is she, though?
Avengers meets the Fast and the Furious. Number one, how bad of an idea do you think it is? But number two, be honest, how much money would that thing make opening weekend? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Obviously, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark was made aspiring to be what Uncharted ultimately became. I just said that for you, Ray. So no, like obviously we were talking about the adventure films today. We've been talking a lot about Uncharted recently. I did not like the film. I thought there were some there were some good, solid positives in it, but I thought personally that the negatives, unfortunately, I weighed the positives. But hey, I'm looking forward to seeing them do another one because I think there were some good bones there to build a franchise around if you lean into the strengths, lean away from the weaknesses. But you know who did like it? Almost everybody else.
Yeah.
The thing's got like over 90%, at least the last time I checked, had like a 90% verified audience rating. By verified audience rating, that means they verified that these people bought tickets and went to the movie. And that's got like over 90%. And for a lot of you guys who watch the John Campea Show, you guys have been writing and saying, you know what, I went to go see it and I kind of liked it, which is great. And it far exceeded that $30 million opening weekend. A 4-day weekend, they said might make about 30, came out over 50. And you know who's touting it as a huge win? Tom Rothman,
What a surprise.
the Grand Imperial Poobah over at Sony.
Formerly of Fox.
He's talking it up there, and he's saying this: with over 100 million in box office worldwide in just one weekend, and a 90% positive audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, Uncharted is a new hit movie franchise for the company. This marks a great victory for every single division of the company, as the film was our first major production entirely shut down by the advent of COVID, yet we persevered to complete a picture the audience loves and marketed and distributed it with strategic verve worldwide despite the pandemic. Now, before we go and start talking about, the quality of the film and how right is he that this is a big victory for them, I do want to give him him and Sony big props for the second part of his statement there. I think a lot of us who are not in the filmmaking business, we hear, oh yeah, COVID shut things down, they got things back up running, and simple, easy, right? Getting these things going, what is it that Brian Cox said in Succession? I'm trying to steer a tanker. I think that's what he said. I'm trying to steer a tanker. Spinning up and getting movie productions going is no small or easy task. It sometimes takes years. And what a lot of these studios went through when the pandemic hit hard, they had to shut everything down. Then schedules got moved. Everybody's personal schedules too, talents schedules, crews schedules, directors and writers and producers and studio schedules. Everything is thrown up. And then when you start to see a little bit of break in the clouds, then maybe we can ramp back up, trying to spin up that entire production again instantly and get things going. To Sony and all the movies who have done it, but to Sony, this is really their first one to come out of the gate. To have a movie like this that's a huge tentpole that got completely shut down, that they got it up and going again, and they got it out into theaters to much better results than we thought it was going to have. Seriously, big kudos to them. They deserve big accolades for that. So congratulations to them. Now, let's go back to the other part of what he said. We talked about with over 100 million box office worldwide in one weekend. Hey, again, kudos to you. That's no Spider-Man numbers, but it is a lot better than what we think it was going to be. The 90% positive audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, big kudos to you guys. That was way ahead of what I thought it was going to be. And again, a lot of you guys watching this, you're right there with it. You guys have been writing and saying that you've liked it. Now, this marks a great victory. This is a new hit franchise for the company. Okay, right here's where I'm going to say that maybe he's getting ahead of himself a little bit. Okay, that's great. It exceeded expectations. The movie got out there. Solid audience score. But a $50 million opening weekend does not a new hit franchise make, especially when your movie hasn't even broken even yet. So I'm going to say I think he's getting a little bit ahead of himself on that. But calling it a big victory for every single division of the company, not to mention, if I'm not mistaken, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was Sony, this was PlayStation Studios' first release. I believe it was at any rate. Now, they got a lot more stuff coming from The Last of Us and other things like that, but hey, it's a nice little win. It's a nice little W. A great victory for a brand new hit franchise. That might be pushing it just a little bit. Rob, you're hearing all this. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think you're right. But now think about that. Though Sony is the parent company we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I think what Tom Rothman is doing is putting on a little show for the powers that be that oversee or own the studio. And a lot of intercompany back padding here. PlayStation, obviously, being one of Sony's crown jewels. This is their first PlayStation production. So, and the film wasn't a flop. It's a video game movie that has succeeded. High audience score. People like it. It has that winsome Tom Holland in the lead. And it's old-fashioned studio popcorn confection. It does not... It's everything that they can point to and say, we've done good. And I applaud Tom Rothman for coming out and being a leader and coming out and offering kudos to the company and everybody that was involved. I think that's a really good move on his part. And I think celebrating this film for being a win across many departments is a good thing. Now, is it justified? Sometimes does it really need to be? I mean, for him to come out and say this, obviously, John, it is not Spider-Man No Way Home. What could be? But coming off the heels of Spider-Man No Way Home, it doesn't matter how well Uncharted did with the 90% Rotten Tomato score from the audiences, whatever it was going to make was going to be celebrated because the studio's on a roll. So I think it was pretty good that they came out and did this. I think it was good that he did this. Is it the smash hit? We'll know in weeks 2, 3, and 4 whether they're justified in being so.
I think it's going to
have
have pretty good legs in the second weekend. I mean, because really, all it's really going to be competing against is a relaunch of The Godfather. I mean, so I think
which,
it might
by the
be
way,
pretty
is
good.
selling out in the AMC.
Well, I got my
Burbank.
tickets. I got my tickets.
I just want to ask Rob, why you sound so sad when you're talking about Uncharted?
You're right. It's not Star Trek. I should be happy. No, it's not that. I don't mean to sound sad.
You sound so
Maybe it's because
sad.
the geopolitical situation in the world has me down today.
Oh, yeah, me
no,
too. Yeah,
but I have to say, it's not that it's. Look, I was disappointed. I expected more from Uncharted, and I think this celebration of something that is it's not a home run here. We're celebrating a solid double. And I think we should save celebrations for a grand slam.
Moneyball taught us doubles win championships.
That's
man.
true. And by the way, that movie is so good.
Doubles. That movie is so great.
It's so good. I like watching clips of that movie just when they're talking about who they're going to hire for the team, and Brad Pitt's just yelling at the oh, it's great.
It is really wonderful. Anyway, Chris, you hear these comments. You know, he's calling it a great victory. This is a new hit franchise, but talks a lot about what they had to go through to get the thing made. What's your response to what Rothman said?
Is it a franchise if there's just one film right now?
I mean, that's a very, very good
Well, you
point.
saw how they ended it.
Yeah, that's
Two
true.
post-credit
There's
scenes.
2 post-credit scenes. There's going to be a second movie, but right now, it's just one. I went to public school, but I can count. And I think that's a little premature to say it's a hit franchise. We have to see how the second film does, which, you know, we've talked about. The second film seems promising. I'm very excited for them to do Drake's Fortune. I think that'll be very, very interesting. And hopefully what'll happen, too, is they learn from some of the mistakes of the first one, keep all the things that fans like, all the people viewing it really enjoy, and maybe just kind of up the ante on some of the things that we didn't think were particularly executed well. As you had brought up, Rob, maybe going someplace that is actually Uncharted as opposed to far from home. You know, there's some work to be done here, but kudos to Sony for doing this, and well done, PlayStation. I really liked the PlayStation shows back in like 2015. I was like really into Powers, so good for you for having a win, guys. That's nice.
By the way, you did make me realize something. When he's saying franchise, I think he's talking about Uncharted as an overall entertainment franchise.
Oh, sure.
Obviously, this is the Uncharted games. The four. There's 4, right? I've played 4. There's no Uncharted 5. There's the other spin-off game.
So.
Is that true?
There was like one little spin-off.
Yeah.
But it didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, but those games I enjoyed all 4 Uncharted games that I played. I thought they were great games. So this adds to a franchise, and now it's a multimedia franchise that has moved beyond simple video games, and it's gone into films, and now they can have other kinds of merchandising. So I do think it is part of a franchise, and it does, if nothing else, it does plus the overall value of Uncharted as an entertainment entity.
And not only that, the whole PlayStation Productions too. This is like maybe
Yeah,
the whole thing, the whole
overall, you're
Yeah.
talking now it's no longer games. It's now multimedia. They might get into television.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to keep focus on one of the facts here, though, that this movie is still not broken even.
No.
Now, I believe it'll have decent legs. Like, I believe it can crack 20 million in its
And it
second
wasn't
weekend.
a $200 million
No,
movie.
it was 120. So you're looking at probably about 280 it needs to pull in solidly to be considered profitable. And it should get there, I think, worldwide. But it's not there yet. So I think it's great for him. You're right. Rothman's being a leader. He's coming out, and you know what? If you're somebody at Sony and you're working at these studios, to see your guy come out and cheering on what you're doing and drawing things, I bet that lots of people at Pixar would love to see Bob Chapek do that.
Yeah.
Say, oh yeah, that movie we're going to put on Disney Plus, and then, like, so it'd be nice to see. So good to him, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Thing hasn't still even broken even yet. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? They're calling Uncharted a great victory for them. Did you like the film? Whether you liked it or not, or saw it or not, do you think the results it's had so far justify calling it a big win for themselves? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take just a minute and thank the sponsor of this video, Masterclass. Masterclass is offering classes on a wide variety of topics, like all taught by world-class masters at the absolute tops of their field. Each class is broken down out into individual video lessons, usually like around 10 minutes or so long, and members can explore at their own pace. And each class is supported by downloadable materials, lessons, recipes, or more that you can all find at masterclass.com. For example, are you into streaming? Well, you can take the Building Your Streaming class taught by ninjas so you can sharpen up on your streaming skills. Or if you're interested in independent filmmaking, take independent filmmaking from Academy Award winner Spike Lee. You want to get classes on how to direct? How about from Ron Howard? The very first one I personally looked up and got into was Business Leadership by the great Big Papa Iger, Bob Iger himself. And I was absolutely enthralled with it. I love every single minute of this stuff. If any of those apply to you, you need to try Masterclass. So I highly recommend that you check it out. Get unlimited access to every Masterclass, and as a John Campea Show viewer, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/Campea. Once again, to get 15% off your annual membership, go to masterclass.com/Campea. And again, a big thanks to the good folks at Masterclass for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with all that down, let's now move on to our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. And then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This is from Neto de Arinda. Greetings from Brazil. I was watching yesterday's show and I was thinking why the platforms don't do the special features like on DVD and Blu-ray on their platforms. I love the Eternals and the Star Wars stuff. They should do this in all their content. What do you think? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Neto. And yeah, look, we were just talking yesterday about the fact that the big release dates for Spider-Man No Way Home for streaming, for Blu-ray and physical media, and it's coming on Stars for streaming sometime in the next 6 months. And we talked a little bit about the special features and how much we, at least in this room, really like special features. I know that was, like, I stopped buying physical media a long time ago. But for the last 2 years that I was buying a lot of physical media, the main reason I was buying it was to get those special features. I loved hearing director's commentary is one of my favorite things in the world. Like, I absolutely love that. But then also, hearing from the cinematographer why they chose shots that they did, or hearing from the writers about, creative decisions that they made, hearing from the actors about what it was like bringing these characters to life. Maybe I was really a sucker for the behind the scenes on the visual effects stuff and all that kind of stuff. But one of the big things that has been, one of the major differences between physical media and streaming is that while there is some of the streaming stuff that has special features attached to it, Avengers Endgame was a great example of that. Like, I loved all the commentaries on that, but it has kind of been one of the things that has not transferred over during this era of transition from physical media to streaming. For the most part, we don't get a lot of those bonus features. Now, there are some exceptions. You look at HBO's Game of Thrones. I used to love at the end of every episode of Game of Thrones, they do like a little mini 5 to 6 minute kind of featurette about the episode you just watched. They did the same thing for Handmaid's Tale. Is another thing and I love that stuff. But I have really lamented that for the most part on streaming, you do not get these special features. Because special features for me, and I can't speak for anybody else in the room, for me, special features are the things that take me from loving a movie to becoming very personally connected to a movie. I love Braveheart. But once I go in and watch that movie and I hear the commentary from the perspective of the director explaining every scene that goes into it, I now feel invested in that movie. And I feel my appreciation for the movie skyrockets. When you open up a physical media thing on your player and you get to see like the deleted scenes or the blooper stuff or the outtakes, it creates an emotional bond between you and the movie itself. Man, I still remember watching Bug's Life and them doing the fake outtakes at the end. That was one of the best things I've ever seen. And I remember those more clearly than I remember the movie itself. It creates this great bond and allows us to take our love and our fandom of this creative storytelling art and go to deeper levels with it. And I adore it and I love it. And we're seeing little glimpses of it, but really not a lot. And I think one of the main reasons this is the case is the fact that I get it. Any streaming thing you pull up, all it wants you to do is to watch the next thing on streaming. Now, this comes to us from Input Magazine. They wrote something really interesting about this a while ago. They said the following. Hulu, like many other services, has autoplay set up so that as soon as one thing finishes, the next one will start. Disney Plus won't start something without a click, but it'll try to get you to start something else while the credits are rolling. Netflix doesn't let me have a quiet moment from the second I open the app, and at one point or another, it had buttons to encourage skipping the opening credits or rewatching scenes that had just finished in the middle of a movie. I want to be able to sit with the movies and let them soak in, and that's often not easy to do when I'm being pushed to watch something else and move on. Because, to analytics-obsessed streaming services, everything is content, and the goal is for me to be yet another number in a streaming quarterly report. I think that's incredibly insightful, what he's saying there. And I think that does kind of speak to one of the reasons we don't see, when you ask the question, why don't they include more of this stuff? I think there are two significant reasons. One reason is it costs money to make this stuff. I don't think that's the biggest reason, because compared to the movie, it's a single line in the budget. But the bigger reason is I don't think they're interested in us watching that kind of content. They want one show to end. I mean, seriously, an episode on Netflix ends, and before I've even reached down for the remote control, the next episode has started. Like, it just tries to keep you going. YouTube does the same thing. On some of my devices, I don't have the option to turn off autoplay. On many of my devices, I do, but YouTube just wants you to stay on YouTube. Keep watching the next thing. Keep watching the next thing. And really wonderful bonus content, I think, stands in the way of their objective to get that done. By the way, another great exception is Disney Plus, like The Mandalorian. When they like, you don't get special features for each episode, but when the season's done, they put out like a 6-part series about.
And it's so good.
And it's so wonderful, right? It's really great. And hopefully Netflix can kind of lead the way in showing the rest of the providers, hey, this bonus feature stuff can become valuable content in and of itself. But whatever. Rob, I mean, you have a little bit of skin in this game as a special features producer yourself on some major films. But if I can get you to isolate that out for a second and just approach this as the fan of storytelling as you are, why to you are bonus features and stuff like that special to you? And why do you think we don't see it more heavily implemented in the digital age already?
Well, first of all, like you pointed out, I love special features. I think that great special features, and especially I was a big fan of long-form documentaries, they really give you insight into the process, not just how things are made, but why things are made, who is making them. And obviously I worked on Lord of the Rings special features, and also some of my team went on to make the special features for The Hobbit. And those special features on the Hobbit movies are emotional in themselves. They take you on a journey of all the creative people while it was happening. And they're pretty extraordinary. And I think that they offer historical perspective. There's a lot of value in making special features. But I think what's happened with special features is, as you pointed out, John, they were expensive to make. Even though they're a fraction of what a movie costs, where does that money come from? It's not like they're going off and all the money came from, when we were making special features, from marketing. Usually theatrical marketing, or they would have home video marketing. So they had money that was earmarked. It has to come from somewhere, and the money has to come from the entity that is paying for it. And now the problem is they don't have a place to finance special features anymore like they used to. They just don't. Now, with something like Star Wars, they know that they're going to have EPK crews and people creating behind-the-scenes content. They know that. But they're not doing it as much as they probably should. Even on Star Wars, remember, think about when Phantom Menace came out. There was an incredible documentary on that.
It's one of the best bonus feature stuff ever was Phantom Menace.
And it was done over the entire production of the 2 years it took to make that movie. And when we worked on Superman Returns, I had money for a crew and me to be in a foreign country for a year. And I think, unfortunately, there's not enough of the audience that wants these special features. And I think people just decided that there's not as much value in them anymore as we wanted. We had a good portion of time where the DVD and Blu-ray market had special features made by auteur filmmakers that were making some incredible stuff. Our own friend Cliff Stevenson, one of the last great pieces of content I saw was the 2-hour documentary he made on the making of Knives Out, which he won a Saturn Award for. And that's a great documentary. That should be streaming somewhere. Will we see it? I don't know.
Chris, we were talking about this a little bit the other day, but, what's your connection to special features? Do you seek out special features? What kind of special features do you like? And why do you think we haven't seen that special feature move from physical media over to streaming as regularly as maybe it should?
I love special features. I'm a sucker for a gag reel, especially as an actor where you get to just see how many mistakes you can make on set, how many choices you can try out on set. It's always so freeing to watch that gag reel where, people are improvising and just trying different lines and seeing what works. And you go, oh, okay, that makes me feel so much more free about being on set and really, really allows me to just be in a playground, right? We, most of us, I think, saw the Peacemaker outtakes about a week ago. And
good.
They're so good, but it also just shows you how much James Gunn was allowing people to play and just try things. And there's so much to learn from watching those, as well as just being entertained. Same with the special features. It's just super, super inspiring to see how films are made, how TV's made, and go, oh, okay, so that's how I get into that. And that's what sparks so many people to want to get into these things. I know a lot of my post-production friends watch the Mandalorian wrap-ups, right? All the behind the scenes rabidly, so they can kind of get this free masterclass in creating worlds and executing television really, really well. I think what it comes down to is what y'all were saying before is it's just not this real easy gateway to more capital, right? Maybe in an Iger world, but in a Chapek world, it's, do we want magic that gets us to some capital or do we want to just get new revenue? Right?
That you just isolated probably the most important reason that special features sort of fell by the wayside. Mm-hmm. How do you get a monetary return?
Exactly.
And you pointed out, and reading that article, would it however, whatever fraction it costs compared to the main event.
Yeah.
How do you, even if you're spending $10,000, a studio can't justify spending $10,000 if it's not going to get a return on that money. Mm-hmm. So that comes through adding subscribers. And special features by definition are supporting the main show.
Exactly.
And the main show is what's making money. So then how do you justify or quantify?
And I would argue to them that special features content done right can be every bit as revenue generating as anything else, because how much did it cost, on a cost per minute basis, how much did it cost for them to put up the commentary of Anthony and Joe Russo on Avengers Endgame? I mean, it cost them a little bit of money for sure, but hardly any. And you put up stuff like that, there are going to be people, maybe not everybody, maybe not even the majority of people, but there are going to be people like us in this room who I will invest another 2.5 hours on this streaming service to watch Endgame, which I've already seen 20 times again, but hearing the commentary and the directors talking through it. And I think if they can figure that out, and if Disney or if Netflix can kind of lead the way to showing that this can become a value-add piece of content in and of itself, I think we might start seeing more of it. I hope so.
Yeah, if that could lead to subscribers.
Yes.
Or generate more.
You know what it would do? It wouldn't generate new subscribers. I believe it would increase subscriber loyalty, though. The retention.
See, that is a very good point. And if they could figure out a way to quantify that and figure out a way okay, what is the relationship between people that watch special features and the subscription base or the retention, like you said, it keeps people. It keeps.
So I'll
people
tell you what, if
subscribed.
Netflix gives us that in mass with their movies, I ain't never get rid of Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, John. I made a feature-length documentary on the making of Tron for the 20th anniversary of the film. It was nominated for an award. Unfortunately, it was finished in standard def because we didn't have HD then. So basically, standard def content is not being repurposed. I would up-res it and put it on. I think it's a very valuable documentary. It's got Jeff Bridges in it. It's got Bruce Boxleitner in it. It's got Harrison Ellenshaw, who was a big Disney, who worked on Star Wars. It's gone. It's there. There's an 88-minute documentary that I made for them that exists. Where is it? Why isn't it on Disney Plus? Why, if you watch Tron, why not? Why not up-res it?
You know what's funny is sometimes they drop these special features just on YouTube without
Yeah.
even, when they don't have a disc.
Warner Brothers has done a lot of that.
Which
They
is
do it
a
as
shame,
marketing.
you know what I mean? But I'm just going to repeat it one more time. The Iron Man, the first Iron Man, is the best way you do everything. Like the
That's
case,
the best way you do everything.
like the case was the shape of Iron Man's face, and you lift it up and you get the disc. The special features was from a pre-movie all the way to post-movie.
Yeah, it
up
was
to the
really
red
good.
carpet. The only problem I have with that is it's 2 discs. I wish they found a way to make it 1 disc, because back it was just a DVD, so like they had 2 discs. But yeah, it was great. So they need to start doing that again.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? Are you somebody, maybe you just don't care about special features at all? You're there for the movie, and that's what you're there for. Or maybe you're someone like us that you love special features. Why don't you think they do it more regular in streaming? Do you think it could come? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
It comes from such a good name. Evan Alrighty. Greetings. I was just reading that after Discovery takes over Warner Brothers and all their stuff, the new boss is saying they're not going to spend a lot of money making content. But in today's streaming wars, isn't that kind of admitting defeat? Netflix, Disney, Peacock, Paramount have all announced they're spending a ton of money on content. Will WB fall behind if it doesn't do the same?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Evan. And yes, I think there is a huge pivotal event in the history of the streaming wars is coming up here. And that is, for those of you who may not know, Discovery is getting ready to take over Warner Media. It includes Warner Brothers, HBO Max, all that kind of stuff. Discovery is taking them over under the leadership of Discovery CEO David Zaslav, who has brilliantly guided the formation, establishment, launch, and growth of the Discovery Plus thing. That thing has turned into a massive hit for people on a pretty modest budget compared to all the other streaming services. They've done such a good job, and he as a leader has done such a great job empowering the heads of all of his different studios, the heads of his Food Network, the heads of his HG network, the heads of his like 5 or 6 other networks. He empowers them, he enables them, he lets them do their stuff, they create great stuff, and it's been hugely profitable to the point that they can buy Warner Brothers. And it's done. They're getting ready to take it over. It's just getting ready to clear the final hurdles, and it's all going to be done. Now, in the streaming wars, we've heard a lot lately about Disney's announced they're going to be spending $13 billion more on original content. Peacock just said they're going to spend over the next 2 years $11 billion on new content. And it's become an arms race. And who can outspend who? Well, in an investor's call, CEO of Discovery, who's about to be the boss of Warner Brothers, basically just laid out, we are not going to get into an arms race, proving he's actually the smartest guy on the block already. This is what he had to say. This comes to us from Variety. Discovery CEO promises that the company is not in a race to win the quote-unquote spending wars on content when it closes its deal to acquire AT&T's Warner Media and become Warner Brothers Discovery. We're going to spend more on content, but you're not going to see us come in and say, all right, we're going to spend $5 billion more on content, Zaslav said during an investor call Thursday to discuss the company's fourth quarter earnings results. Discovery CFO Gunnar Weidenfels echoed Zaslav's point, saying, it's not about winning. I love this. Listen to this. It's not about winning, and spending more money doesn't score goals. It's not about winning, and spending more money doesn't score goals. And we're going to spend money on content, but we're not just going to say, hey, what's that guy spending? We're going to spend $5 billion more than that. It's not what it's about. If you want any more proof that just throwing money at things doesn't bring you titles, look at the New York Yankees. or whoever.
I got that sports reference.
I sports ball. I get it. Or heavens, look at the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
Or don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a great meme the other day. It was, I think it said, number of rings since 1989 or something like that. Dallas Cowboys 2, Jennifer Lopez 5. And had with their various fiancés on their knee putting their ring on her. A little bit of a zinger there. But seriously, just throwing money doesn't win. And I'll tell you why, to me, when I read that, it just re-emphasized to me that Zaslav and his regime are going to be the smartest group of guys on the block in this streaming war stuff now that Big Papa Iger's gone. Is that, number one, we are not here to win the streaming wars. We're here to be successful. That's what we're here to be. If somebody else wants to be even more successful, that has nothing to do with us. We are not here to outspend people. We are not going to engage in the spending wars. We are going to create good content, and we're going to be successful, and we're going to be profitable. And it's not about who can win the race to spend more money. Because spending more money does not guarantee you results. At all. I remember when I was running AMC and later Collider and stuff like that, there were companies spending a hell of a lot more money on their online content than us, and we dwarfed them. At the same time, there were YouTube channels in the entertainment business that spend a hell of a lot less money than we did at AMC or Collider, and they dwarfed us. Money is a great tool, but like any tool, it has to be used efficiently. And the very fact that Zaslav isn't coming out saying, we are going to win the streaming wars, we're going to be the king of the hill, that's folly. You focus on being successful, getting the W, getting the win, not over somebody else, but for yourself. You focus on that. You become reasonable with your spending. You put the money where it's going to be most effective and not just throw it around frivolously. You're going to be the guy standing when it comes to the end of it. And I'll tell you what, I love this. And notice he didn't come out and say, we're not going to spend any money. No, he just came out and said, we're not going to come out and say, well, we're going to spend $5 billion more than, like, no, they're going to spend money. He knows how to spend money, and they're going to do it. But they're going to do it responsibly. They're going to run a tight ship. And I think you're going to see Warner Brothers going to new heights. And we've, not ever, but than we've seen in the last 15, 20 years. Anyway, Rob, these are some pretty, I think these are incredible statements coming from these guys over
Agreed.
there. What do you make of their philosophy right now?
Well, there's a friend of this channel, friend of my channel too, somebody very ensconced in the industry who I admire and respect, who I asked him a similar question about this about 6 months ago. And he said right now that most of the streaming services are spending 100 to 150% of what they're taking in via subscriptions. Yes. That is unsustainable. And it is bad business. And I understand why they're doing it. Warner Media Discovery. What do we know? They called it something. Is it now Warner Discovery? What is
Warner Media Discovery or something along? Actually, you know what? Let me bring up the screen again. I'll tell you what it is. It's going to be called Warner Brothers Discovery.
Okay,
I don't like the name. For the record, I don't like the name.
Warner Brothers Discovery is not. Look, these other streaming services are committing business practices that aren't in their best long-term interests. What Warner Brothers Discovery is doing, they're already making successful shows that aren't expensive shows, like those cooking shows. A lot of the Discovery Channel shows are cost effective and they bring in huge numbers. So what Zaslav is doing is he's positioning, first of all, the company to not say, like you said, we're going to go out and win these wars. There's no war to fight. All you have to do is continue what you're doing, which is making great content that gets people to watch and subscribe. And you don't have to spend inordinate amounts of money that put you in the hole. Why would you spend 150% of what you're taking in? What business can survive? He's not going to do that. And they're going to spend their money effectively. They're going to spend their money where it's most useful. And they're going to create great entertainment for their subscription base. And because what you're doing to win the subscription wars, John, or to win the streaming wars, or whatever you want to call it, is to establish a group of people that are your consumers that have loyalty to you because you're providing them with great entertainment. That's it. That's your job. And if you retain those subscribers month to month to month, you will win.
And here's the thing. I think we're going to see Zaslav, like, he'll spend money on big projects.
Sure.
We're like when he takes over Warner Brothers and they want to make the next Justice League movie, he's going to open up because he'll believe that's going to be money well invested that he's going to get a return on. What you won't see him then do is turn around and make 20 other little things that they can just throw more money at than they do at Justice League altogether. So I think he's going to spend money, but he's going to spend it responsibly, and we're going to see how that all kind of turns out. Chris, you're you're hearing these words. You know, you've been involved in the entertainment industry in a lot of different levels. What do you make of what he's saying here?
I think it's smart, and it's nice to hear that it's just not about throwing money at stuff to see what sticks. I keep kind of thinking about, too, all the times that we've had people write in on this show. How do I get viewers? How do I get things? How do I do this? How do I grow my audience? It begins with the content you already have and creating that to be what your people need, what people want to listen to, tune into, all that good stuff. So making sure that you're taking care of that subscriber base, making sure you are taking care of the IP you already have, and making sure it all really, really shines, that's a really nice place to start. And throwing billions of dollars at other IP that you want to collect or trying to do other things, it's not always what's going to get the baby bathed, you know? If you had asked me too a couple of years ago if Discovery was going to be the one buying Warner,
never.
Like what?
Never.
That's
You would think it'd be the
wild.
other way around.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Of just okay, Warner Brothers is going to do Shark Week now, I guess. Neat. But this is really, really exciting stuff, and it's nice to hear somebody tackle a problem from a different angle. Because when you see people do the same approach always, and it's not working, why would you do the same approach too? This is really refreshing to see, frankly.
Well, and you brought up something great. It's like when people ask us about a YouTube channel, what you're selling is you.
Exactly.
What do you bring that's different than any other YouTuber?
What's your special sauce?
Yeah, that's why people tune into YouTube. Why do people tune into something like Discovery, Shark Week, call it what you want? It's consistent quality programming. That's all you're looking for. And Zaslav's going to spend the money when he knows he's going to make something. You brought up Justice League, John. You look at those numbers on Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know how much money how much it generated, but if those numbers hold, that's something people watch over and over and over again. People will come back to a streaming service that has their favorite movies. They watch them as comfort food. If Warner Brothers is concentrating on making great films that do well on their streaming service, HBO, like you pointed out, is already the Tiffany standard of streaming series.
When it comes to excellence, yeah.
And they make incredible stuff. And so that's where he's coming into a company that's already doing that. You think he's going to make HBO we're going to do 30 new shows on HBO.
No.
They'll make 5 really good shows. You got the Gilded Age. I mean, I never thought I'd be worried or want to be concerned with, a Downton Abbey. Julian was Fellows or whatever.
Barry's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, all these shows, I'm like, every HBO show, have you ever seen, other than like what Arliss was HBO, wasn't it?
I believe it was, yeah.
Not a favorite of mine. But other than that, HBO shows, were there any really bad HBO shows? Like ever?
Honestly, the first show on HBO that I believe, now maybe I'm not remembering some, but that I started watching, I just couldn't keep getting into it, was Euphoria. That was the first one. And that's an excellently made show. It's just that the subject matter for me it just leaves me feeling.
It's also
icky.
a zeitgeist show now. It's captured the imaginations
Yes,
of
it has.
young girls everywhere.
Yeah,
That's
it's
another
of
one
those
for me
things.
too, John. It's just too hard for me to watch it.
Yeah, but that's it. But everything else anything else I try on HBO works. I mean, that's just what they've done and done historically. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about the words from the Discovery CEO, David Zaslav, saying, hey, we're not here to win the spending wars. That's not what we're here to do. I think he's already proven that he's going to be the smartest guy in this business now that Papa Iger isn't there. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? Chris, what is our third main topic today?
Third topic is from Extant Crab. Hi, John. Big fan of the show. I was wondering what you think the chances are of Sir Ian McKellen appearing in the new Doctor Strange movie as Magneto. Considering Professor X is going to be there and also the link between Magneto and Wanda in the comics, is there a possibility that he appears? Thanks and keep up the great work.
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yeah, of course, listen, we've been talking a lot about Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness ever since that trailer dropped. That incredible, crazy, bar nothing, nutty trailer. Obviously, we had Patrick Stewart pop up in there and everything too. Now, let me give a little bit of an asterisk and a side note here. On yesterday's show, we let you know, Chris wasn't here, so Chris doesn't know. But Rob and I know a significant, we know some pretty major things about Doctor Strange 2 that we are not going to reveal. But we let you guys know, suffice it to say, it excited us a great deal, what we saw.
Yes, it did.
What we saw excited us a great deal. That being said, we don't know everything. We didn't read the entire script. There's certainly a lot about, there's certain details about Doctor Strange we have no idea about. One of those details is Magneto and whether or not Magneto is in this film. So lest one might think, well, man, John, you already know everything about Doctor Strange. You speculating about Magneto is kind of frivolous. No. We actually don't know. There's a lot of details we don't know. So Magneto is a question mark to us. That's under the what do they call it, Ray, in World of Warcraft when there's a part of the map you're not on that you can't see? Fog of war. Yeah, there's a bit of fog of war here.
I thought it was called Big Surprise.
Big surprise. It's called Fog of War. So we're under a fog of war as far as Magneto goes and a lot of the other details in this. But you bring up a great question about Magneto, because I think there's two reasons why I believe there is a solid, legitimate chance we could see Magneto in this film. All right. And they're both narrative reasons. Not, I want to see Blade pop up. Why? Because Blade's cool. Well, no. Like actual story reasons. Story reason number one. If you are going to use this movie to give us our first introduction and indication that there are, within the grander realm of the multi-MCU, mutants, there are two who are the quintessential face of mutants. Professor Charles Xavier and Eric, also known as Magneto. Those are the two, and they're inseparable. It's like yin and yang. It's like, I don't know, Batman and Robin. It's like the Dallas Cowboys and losing. I mean, they just go together.
Just going after him today.
Shots across the bow. Shots across the bow.
But it's just, they go together, right? Mm-hmm. And if Professor Charles Xavier is there as one, I think it gives you a lot of narrative reasoning to believe that maybe a Magneto could be there as well. If you're kind of introducing the concept of X-Men and mutants, there are two faces that represent that concept, and it's Professor X and it's Magneto. But the more important narrative reason why I believe that a Magneto is a solid possibility to show up there is not his connection to Charles Xavier. Lest we forget, it's his connection to Wanda. He Wanda daddy. Now, not in the MCU. Not in the MCU. I mean, unless her memories were, the reality altering and all that kind of stuff. But as they've presented it so far in the MCU, he's not her daddy. But we know that Wanda Maximoff's real father is Eric. He's her father. And kind of the reason, or one of the main reasons why she found herself in a moment of anger, rage, and desperation and uttered the words, "No more mutants," which I believe is something that's going to play a part in this movie. As we've been speculating that for a while now. So I am not ready to say, I'll bet you that Magneto is going to be in this movie. I'm not there yet. But I am saying there are two very significant, to me, narrative reasons why if you believe he's going to be there, I can get on board with that. If I had to set an over-under, I'd say I'd go as high as 40%, which is pretty close to a coin flip. I would go as high as 40% because, again, I just think story-wise, it would make sense. And if you are going to reference the No More Mutants thing, I think Eric should probably be a part of that. Or at least as to the reasons why. Again, I'm speculating, no idea. And I'm not even saying 80%, I'm saying 40%. Rob, they're writing and they're saying, hey, we got Charles Xavier. What do you think about Magneto? I don't think it's a crazy thought. Why do you think it is or is not a decent idea that maybe he could be there?
Well, let's look at what they've done with the MCU already. They have now incorporated both the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, which are both different continuities. So they're essentially two different universes that existed. Why shouldn't the Fox X-Men universe also be adjacent to the MCU? Meaning that if you have Patrick Stewart in this movie, you are absolutely saying that the entirety of this Fox, you're not going to pick, well, we're going to take Charles Xavier, but that means nothing else exists. It means that the entire continuity or lack thereof, because the continuity was all over the place, but still, the entire Fox X-Men pantheon, 20 years of movies, is also adjacent to the MCU. Meaning that any one of those characters that we saw in those movies could show up. in Multiverse of Madness. And why not? And what's really interesting is we've already seen one, even though they played with we saw it in WandaVision. Whatever vision of Quicksilver or whatever that was, Ralph Boner, whatever you want to call it. And I'm still not convinced that we're not going to revisit that at some point.
I am.
There's a reason why they did that. And I am willing to bet we have not seen the end of that. There's something that's something that's going to play out. We're going to see that play out somehow in this movie or somewhere else. And I don't know how, but they messed with us with WandaVision. And that was, so I really do think that we are going to see, we know Charles Xavier's in this movie. I am willing to bet you dollars to donuts, 100%, John, over under 100%, we will see another mutant that we have previously seen in the Fox X-Men movies. Don't know if it's Magneto, but as you pointed out, good guess. And if she did say no more mutants, and she did create a new reality with her family, the trauma, the Stark bomb, whatever it was, that whole thing, and the sitcom stuff.
Yeah.
So those parents she had were the normal human parents she always wanted to have, that she never had. So that life that she created all the way back to when she was a little girl, she altered all of reality for her whole life in her mind. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Magneto.
Chris, you're hearing this? I mean, it's an issue. And by the way, this brings up a secondary question. Not only what do you think the chances are, what would be the reasons for or against Magneto popping up, but then if he does, the other part of the question we haven't asked yet is, what Magneto do we see? Do we see a Sir Ian McKellen that is more akin to the Patrick Stewart era of X-Men, or do we see a Michael Fassbender who so wonderfully picked up the mantle from Ian McKellen? So I don't know. How do you see this?
Papa Magneto or is it Daddy Magneto? You know, who we getting? I do think it makes sense, but I mean, honestly, at this point, I could see my Aunt Barbara in Multiverse of Madness and be like, that makes sense. This all pans out to me.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say though, because we had so many Easter eggs in WandaVision. Are those actually buried memories of Wanda's, or are they just Easter eggs?
Yes,
right?
I know. That's my favorite question right now.
That's what's so interesting, because we have, like, in the very first episode, we see Bova milk everywhere, right? Referencing the humanoid cow nurse that she had as a child that her parents like dumped her off at, where I think it was her and Pietro were dumped off with this like cow nurse. So is that a buried memory? Is that buried trauma or something of hers that ties in her actual father and her actual origin story? When we see her talking to that other Wanda in the trailer, is she talking to a Wanda who's grieving the loss of her children instead of grieving Vision? You know, there's a lot of stuff that could mean that Magneto is part of this. But I mean, anything is possible, right?
I mean, you talk about Kevin Feige talking about we're going to see mutants in 5 years. And John, you pointed out, if that was the case, they planned it.
Yeah.
They've been planning this. And if it is this no more mutants thing, and and by the way, this is speculation versus expectation.
For sure.
I mean, my problem now is my speculation is my expectation, which I hate. I mean, I don't like that. I mean, I in my mind, I'm already convinced that they've been playing this long game with the mutants, and this is where they're building up to the introduction of the X-Men in the franchise. And that is my expectation. It's also my speculation. And I wish I could break free of it, John. I think about this every day because you put that in my head. But if that was the case, that means everything in WandaVision was very much intentional. And I think it is. I think it absolutely was intentional.
I agree. Except for the Bonner part, because I honestly think I think that was the greatest troll of the audiences ever by Kevin Feige. I think that was the purpose.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't believe that he would do that.
I do.
Because it denigrates everything they've built for the rest of the MCU. I
disagree.
I think the purpose behind that has yet to be revealed.
He's Mephisto.
It was Mystique the whole time.
It was Mystique the whole time. We'll see. Anyway, guys, the question is for you, and I think there's a couple of interesting ones here. Number one, since Patrick Stewart is there, do you see a narrative purpose while maybe a Magneto could appear as well? If so, could he A, be the McKellen era Magneto? Could he B, be the Fassbender era Magneto? Or thirdly, could it be a completely separate thing? Could Tom Cruise actually be Magneto? Could he be a Magneto variant in this thing? It's a council of cruises. I'm telling you, this movie's going to have the council of cruises. What do you guys think? Whatever it is, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. we want to take a minute and thank the sponsors of this video, Liquid IV. Now listen, just one stick of Liquid IV added to 16 ounces of water will hydrate you faster and more efficiently than just water alone. It contains 5 essential vitamins like B3, B5, B6, B12, and of course vitamin C with 3 times the electrolytes as traditional sports drinks. And what makes Liquid IV so effective is the science of cellular transport technology, or CTT. You see, it's designed to enhance rapid absorption of water and other key ingredients into your bloodstream faster and more efficiently. It tastes great, and it's a great thing to take when you feel run down, you need your daily hydration boost, or even a little bit of hangover recovery. You know, Ann and I get up pretty early in the morning to go to the gym because we can't go to the gym at any other time during the day. And for the last couple of weeks, I have been drinking 1 full glass of water with Liquid IV, and all I can tell you is you can feel the difference during the workout. So go and grab Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use the promo code CAMPEA, that's CAMPEA, at liquidiv.com. Experience better hydration today when you go to liquidiv.com, and remember, use the promo code at checkout, CAMPEA. And a big thank you to the folks over at Liquid IV for making this episode of the John Campea Show possible. Okay, guys, with that all down, let's move on to main topic number 4. Chris, what is our 4th main topic today?
Topic 4 is from Anik Did It. If that is an Apple TV reference, I disagree. Hey, crew, and especially Ray. Ray has been celebrating the fact that Free Guy has finally come to Disney Plus, and so have we all. The movie was one of my favorites last year, and I loved it so much. Did you see that the director of the film had been talking about doing a sequel and that Disney has asked him to make it? What do you think the chances are of another Free Guy movie? And do you think they should do one? Or do you think they should just leave it alone since it was great just as it was?
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yeah, listen, Free Guy was one of those movies that, you know, oh yeah, that looks like it'll be cute. And it does have my favorite movie star in the world in Ryan Reynolds. So like, oh yeah, that looks like it'll be cute. But quite frankly, the trailers didn't do a whole ton for me. I mean, the trailers were the trailers. They were all right. They kind of look like an amalgamation of a lot of different things we've seen before. And quite frankly, not on a high level of quality, but it looks all right enough. And then I went to go see it. And I absolutely fell in love with this movie. And Anne went to go see the first press screening with me. And then we turned around and we went again opening day. And then we went again the next day to see it again. And we together saw it 3-4 times in theaters. And then this morning, you know, I'm in my office working this morning. I walk out to the living room for a second, and Anne had gotten up and she's out of bed and she's watching Free Guy on Disney Plus. It is just a special movie, a charming, well-performed, beautifully paced, smile on your face, big surprise moments. That ending stuff was absolutely incredible. Hopefully you guys have seen the movie and you know what we're talking about. But it's just a triumph of a movie. I mean, for what it was. This smaller, big, it's a big movie, but a smaller, big movie that just kind of came out, pleased the audience, gave us thrills in the theater, really at a time that we really needed some thrills in the theater. And it gave us that. And it did pretty darn well at the box office too. So that brings up the question, will they do another one? I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to do another one. They'll absolutely do another one. And where this movie leaves off, look, this movie was made as a self-contained one-shot movie. But when you look at where the movie ends, you can just say to yourself, there are many more stories to tell here. There are a lot of stories you can tell here and go in a new direction with, and I think it'd be exciting. Anyway, the director, Sean Levy, he was asked about this. He said the following: "We were thrilled that Free Guy was as successful as it was, and particularly as an original movie at a time where few get made and even fewer are hits. So that was gratifying." I bet it was. And if we can crack that sequel, that's something that might be very fun to make together. We had such a clear idea of the tone, the story, the details of Free Guy that we both made, talking about him and Ryan Reynolds, that we both made a few sequels in our lives. And so we know how hard it is to make a worthy sequel. And when we feel confident that that's the kind we'll make, then we'll make it. Now, Sean Levy goes on to explain that Disney has already been on the phone with him several times. Disney wants a Free Guy too. So they're already approaching it and they want it. And he's right. Sean Levy, we know he's made some sequels in his day. Some good ones, some not good, so good ones. Ryan Reynolds has made some great movies in his time, some not so great movies. So they know that if they want to follow up Free Guy, they got to have something that's kind of special. But if Disney wants it and the audience wants it, it's going to get done. This will get done. I don't know that it's going to happen in the next year or the next 2 years. Both Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds obviously have a fairly full dance card right now. But I don't see any reason at all to believe that they wouldn't do one. And quite frankly, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't do one. Yes, you can leave it alone, but who cares? Again, it's like remakes. If you do a sequel and it sucks, doesn't matter. The first one is still there. You can go back and just watch it, enjoy it, and love it for what it is. But I think as a creative team, they come up with something pretty special, and I think it's something that can work. Anyway, Chris, I know you enjoy Free Guy.
I love this movie.
Now that the movie's out on streaming and it's been a while since it was in theaters, how do you look back on the movie, and what do you think the chances are that we get another one?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, Logan was furious. I came home and he was like, did you know Free Guy's on Disney Plus now? Why did I buy this on YouTube TV? I was like, I was like, you've watched it like 8 times. You've gotten your return. It's fine. But we love this movie. We love it so much that we bought it ahead of time. I think this is great. I love that Ryan Reynolds, for a while here, has just been doing sneaky rom-coms. You go in to see something like Deadpool or Free Guy, and then you're like, oh, I love. Thanks, Ryan. This is great.
Love.
Thank you so much. I definitely understand why Disney wants a sequel, but what Sean's saying here makes me feel so much better about it. We'll do a sequel when we have a worthy sequel. That's wonderful, because everything comes down to the script. Everything comes down to the actual content that you're putting out there. And while all of us in this room, I'm pretty sure, would watch Ryan read The Phone Book, I love him so much. I think he's such a wonderful actor and really underrated too. There was this great article a while ago about how he has like a Burt Reynolds problem where people don't get past the charisma and the good humor and don't always see the value of what a great actor
just watch
he is.
Buried. You want to see how good he is,
So
watch
good
Buried.
and Buried. And so I really, really trust his gut and Sean's gut here of making sure they make something that is worthy of this film.
Rob, you hear the comment Sean Levy's saying, and you're right, he brings up the fact, like, look, when we feel like we've cracked the code again, we'll approach it. I think they're going to work very hard to crack that code. I don't think this is something they're going to put on the back burner and wait for. Anyway, you heard his words. Your thoughts on Free Guy, and what do you think the chances are of not only will they make a sequel, but should they?
Well, first of all, I think as an original IP, a successful original IP, it was a breath of fresh air. And it took something that we've all played, sandbox video games and the idea of non-player characters or whatever. Genius conceit. Really, really good idea and really well executed. I mean, you can't not watch this movie and not have a good time with it. And it's not just because of Ryan Reynolds, it's everybody. They did such a wonderful job. So I'm kudos to all the success that it's had. I would hope that, because in a way, like you talked about, this is a romance. It's also an exploration of where we are at in gaming culture, and
Yes.
it had a lot to say about
Great
us.
point,
Real and as long as they're able to do that and continue forward, what happens? What happens if Ryan Reynolds' character winds up in an entirely different, like a World of Warcraft situation, where he's like, "What the hell am I doing here?" And it's the same. I don't know what they would do, but I think that there absolutely will be a sequel to this. I think they're going to come up with a great idea. 'Cause Sean Levy is stealthily becoming one of the great producers, directors, content providers in Hollywood. He's one of the people behind Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's doing a lot of really interesting stuff, and he's kind of under the wire. We don't talk about him, I think, enough, although we should be. And I think if he's going to get behind it again, it's going to be great.
And by the way, we're focusing a lot, understandably, so am I, on if they did a sequel, where do they go in Free City? What does Ryan Reynolds do? But I'll tell you what else. By the end of that movie, because in the first hour of the movie, I don't give a crap about the Millie and Keys character, Jodie Comer and Joe Keery. I don't really care about the first hour. By the end of that movie,
So invested.
I was in.
Yep.
I was totally in. So
Agreed.
not only is there stuff you could move on and explore from within Free City itself, but also with the human characters outside of it. I think there's a lot of possibilities there too.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be bad, could be great, whatever. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the idea of doing a Free Guy 2? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think they should just skip it all together? Some people may say they don't need to do Free Guy 2. Newsflash, there's never been a movie in the history of humankind that needed to be made. But at any rate, what do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. Okay, guys. with that down, let's move on to main topic number 5. Chris, what is our 5th and final main topic today?
This one comes from Adam Keys. The first reactions to the Batman are coming out from the UK screening last night, and everyone is saying that it's awesome. Considering the mixed reactions a lot of DC stuff seems to get, do you think this is a good sign that Matt Reeves has delivered? Can we dare to hope this is actually that good? I've been a little hesitant since Affleck is my Batman, but I must admit this sounds promising. Who do you guys think? And Chris's voices are my favorite. Oh, thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Adam. And oh my goodness, and oh my word, and oh my stars and garters. The premiere of Batman took place in London last night, and expectedly so. Now, while the official critic review embargo does not lift until the 28th, which I believe is Monday morning, there are people in the UK who got to be at the premiere. When you go to a premiere, you ain't under any embargo. And so we were kind of looking forward to seeing what the reactions were going to come out of there. Because, listen, particularly speaking, the UK-based film media, I believe, I can't quantify this, is generally a little tougher on their fare than we are over here. So I was really curious to see what kind of stuff. Now, you guys all know The Batman is my number 1 most anticipated movie of the year. I've been losing my mind about this thing. Every trailer, every clip, every score piece of music that comes out, almost every poster, except for that one that looked completely ridiculous, whatever. But almost every image, the casting, who's directing, all this kind of stuff has done nothing but completely had me ascending higher and higher on Expectation Mountain. Not to confuse, speculation. I mean, like, my expectations of this movie are so high. Now, of course, when I go to see it, I'm going to take my expectations, I'm going to put them in a nice little box, and I'm going to leave them at the door, and I'm just going to go in and experience the movie in 5 days. 5 days till we get there. By the way, we were listening to Paul Dano talking about the Batman this morning, and Paul Dano just sent a message to the world that he watches the John Campea Show, because he was talking about the premiere, and he said, because you're there at the premiere, and it's game day. That's what he said. He did. Of course, he didn't say it quite like that, but I choose to believe that I choose to believe that basically Paul Dano was letting the world know that he watched the John Campea Show. That's how I choose to interpret it at any rate. But he called it game day, and indeed it is 5 days till game day. And I'm so stoked for this. I cannot believe it. And yes, the first reactions started coming out from what I believe to be a little bit of the harder edge reactioners, and this is what we got. CBR pulled the quote on this one from MTV. MTV UK shared a handful of the reactions following the premiere in London on February 23rd. That's last night. Quote, Matt Reeves delivers a nail-biting, gritty, and fun Batman coming-of-age story. MTV Movies' Hannah Flint shared. Unilad went on to call the Batman absolutely euphoric, with Total Film, one of my favorite outlets, calling it sensational. Empire declaring it gripping, and Insider boldly claiming Robert Pattinson will be your new favorite Batman.
Damn.
Matt Reeves delivers a nail-biting, gritting, and fun Batman coming-of-age story. It is absolutely euphoric, sensational, gripping, and Robert Pattinson will be your new favorite Batman. All right. There's a couple of these. I want to break these into 2 different parts. First of all, the generic more ones coming off the top of it there. It's gripping, nail-biting, which is kind of the feeling that the trailers have been giving about it. It feels like that mid-90s intense thriller kind of thing. Like maybe, what was the one with Morgan Freeman, Kiss the Girls?
Yeah.
Like maybe like kind of a gripping kind of Kiss the Girls kind of
played
feel
Alex
to it,
Cross.
right? Where he played Alex Cross. Not to be confused with the other Alex Cross.
He Kissed the Girls and Along Came a Spider.
And Along Came a Spider, yeah.
And then Medea.
Yeah, not to be confused. I like him, but that one didn't work so well. So gripping, absolutely euphoric. I love that phrase as well. So we're hearing just the praise, the general praise. This movie's fantastic. The bold one, though, comes at the end. In a world where we have Michael Keaton's Batman, in a world where we have Ben Affleck's Batman, in a world where we have Christian Bale's Batman, he came out and said, Robert Pattinson's about to be your new favorite Batman. Them's big words. Those are big fighting words. Now listen, the person who said that does not know me, does not know you. Who is going to be your favorite Batman, they have no idea of saying. But they said it anyway. And whether or not it turns out to be true that Robert Pattinson can usurp Ben Affleck as my personal favorite Batman, which he doesn't need to, by the way. I don't need for him to be my new favorite Batman for me to love this movie. But if he did, the fact that they feel safe enough to make a proclamation like that, believing that a lot of people are going to feel that way, that says a lot. He might be right, he might be wrong, but them's his big words. I gotta say, I was waiting kind of anxiously to hear the word coming out of these screenings last night, because you know how excited I am for this film. And what I didn't want to hear was, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, that would have been fine. Like, all I want is a good movie. But I was nervous about hearing, it's pretty good. It's like, yeah, you know, it doesn't quite live up to the Nolan Batman films, but hey, it's better than, I don't know.
Moonfall.
It's better than Moonfall. Yay, it's better than Moonfall. I mean, so I didn't know. Now, Rob, you were telling me yesterday about somebody you know that had gotten a hold of you before we started the show yesterday, and,
Yes.
and you read me their response because they had seen the movie, and it was extremely positive.
Extremely positive.
And then I heard from somebody we know last night, said, can't say much, favorite movie of the year. And they just left it at that. So that just put this Joker
well, it
size...
is only February, John. I mean,
Well,
come on.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. It's not a lot to compare it to, but still, it put a Joker-sized smile on my face. Couldn't believe what I was reading. Loving these reactions. Now, listen, of course, these are reactions coming from individuals, and just because they like the movie that much doesn't mean you will like the movie that much, and it doesn't mean I'll like the movie that much. But it's certainly better than not hearing such positive rave reactions coming out. You know, like sometimes these reactions, well, most of the time the reactions we get out of these things generally end up being how people feel, but sometimes we've seen examples when it doesn't. But you'd rather hear great reactions than bad ones, and these ones are over the top good. Rob, you're hearing these reactions. What are your thoughts, and where's your expectation for the Batman right now?
Here's the thing. We have a spectrum of Batman movies. On one hand, we have the Tim Burton, Anton Furst production design. This is set in a world unto itself, Batman. And then we've got the Joel Schumacher era with Val Kilmer and then George Clooney. Then we come on further down the spectrum, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, which are far more realistic. And somewhere between the Schumacher Burton era and the Christopher Nolan era, we have the Zack Snyder era of Batman, which leans more toward fantastical. I think this Batman, and the thing that excites me the most about this Batman is going to be the most real world Batman that we've ever had. You can see it in the way it's shot, at least from the scenes we've seen. Even the music, John. I keep listening to those 3 pieces of music that they've
So
released.
good.
They're so good, but it's a totally different realm. I mean, the Catwoman theme is jazzy. Jazz has not existed in the Batman franchise. I mean, Prince did, but I'm talking about, you know, people smoking cigarettes in jazz clubs at 3:30 in the morning in Paris. I know it sounds strange, but we haven't had that before. This is a real world. It's going to be, at least from my perception so far, the most real world of all the Batman movies by a wide margin. So we're going to believe, the same way we might have believed A Man Can Fly, this Batman movie is set in the real world of, quote unquote, real world, like of Fincher's Zodiac and Seven, which they keep bringing up. There's no fantastical element of this. This is going to, I mean, Batman has an element of fantasy, but what I mean is this is going to feel like this movie, if you took Batman out of it, it could have been a crime thriller that Michael Mann would have made. And that's what I mean. And that's why I am deliriously excited to see this Batman, because my big question was, how do you make it different? How do you differentiate it from all these other visions of Batman we've been getting since '89? And the way you differentiate it is you make it the most realistic, down-to-earth Batman that we've ever seen, where Batman, more than ever, we believe that he could exist in the world we live in.
You know, you bring up a really interesting point about that, because we've talked a lot about Joker over the years, right? Because every time you're going to try to do a new iteration of Joker, you face a large challenge. Besides the fact that he's an incredibly multi-dimensional character. Number one, you have to make him essentially Joker. But number two, you have to make him completely unique from everybody else who's played Joker. And I would contend that so far the storytellers and filmmakers have done a pretty good job with that. Heath's Joker was very different from Jack's Joker. Jack's Joker was very different from Leto's Joker. And so on. And Leto's Joker completely different from Joaquin's Joker. You know, they've done a very good job of that. But the same is true as Batman as well. You're striving to make him, at his core, the representation of Batman. But also at the same time, you're trying to make him a little bit unique from the other Batmans we've already seen. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, just the pure visceral nature of what we've seen in this Batman, I think makes him stand out a little different from what I believe is the best representation we've ever had of Batman on the big screen, which is Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck's Batman, from, you know, the most successful and well-received Batman ever, which is probably Christian Bale's Batman. I mean, they've done a good job of creating, this is his own Batman, and I think that's pretty key.
Well, we already know things like the Batcave is actually an abandoned train station or something. And
that's what we got in the books, yeah.
And that he builds his own car. I mean, if you look at the even people are like, well, the Batmobile doesn't look as cool as, because it's a real car. You know, even in the Christian Bale movies, the future tech that Wayne Industries, or the Applied Sciences division, made, there's a little bit of sci-fi in that. You know, with the memory foam or the memory cloth and all that stuff that Batman does, there's an element of comic book fantasy, even in the Bale movies. This, I bet, dispenses with all of that as much as it can. It's going to be stripped down and completely more realistic than anything we've seen.
From a lot of Batman punching people in the face.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at that fight scene with Catwoman. That was a real,
good.
That was real fight. That was not fantasy fighting. That was real fighting. And Batman anticipated her moves. Yeah. It's not, you know, it's not fighting Ducard on the ice, you know, and it's talking about the League of Shadows. There's no League of Shadows in this Batman movie. This Batman movie has some psycho serial killer running around like John Doe in Seven.
Which, by the way, that new clip they put out today, they put out a clip today of, that's an extension of the clip that we've already seen. We've already seen that clip of Riddler sitting in the coffee shop and the police come in and surround him, right? But we never saw his face. They released a clip today from Good Morning America where they keep the scene going where he turns around and you see his face. And I'll tell you what, he looked so normal, it was terrifying. He looked like such just a guy who lives up the street from you that it terrified me. It was absolutely crazy. Anyway, Chris, I know your excitement level has been fairly big for the Batman. What do you think about the words we're hearing out, the reactions that we're seeing coming out? What does it do for your expectations? And what are you looking for as we head in to see the Batman in 5 days?
I'm really trying to make sure I don't get too excited. I really am. I'm just like, don't set your expectations too high. Don't get burned. It's going to be okay. But this is really promising. This is really, really great that people are liking this film so much. I still need to get my hands too on the prequel comic that is the companion to this. I really, really need to check that out. That also made me really excited about this film, that we're getting a comic book that ties into it directly. And I think you're right, John. It's really interesting to see a new iteration of the Bat, right? And how they're taking it, and this really, really gritty world that they're building, the brutality that we've seen too, Rob, like that you were talking about, that's really, really interesting and fun to me. Because really, at the core... That
brutality's fun?
Well, yeah. For a movie.
You're fine.
It is. I'm really excited about it. Because at the core of Batman, right, he is the pinnacle of human conditioning. Yeah. He has driven his own body to the extent of what a human being can do. That's what it's always come down to the comics. That's why he still could hold his own against some of these super powered individuals, because he has this tactical mind. He's trained. He's done all this stuff. He's the world's greatest detective. And it's really, really exciting to see something where we're really focused on that gritty, in-your-face nature that a lot of the darker storylines have. I love the Tim Burton stuff a lot, but I'm really pumped to see a very, very just nasty Gotham.
You know, somebody asked me a question a while ago, and I thought it was really interesting. I kind of shelved it away for a bit, but in a world where sometimes a good thing can have negative consequences, let me ask you this, and I don't have an answer. This isn't a rhetorical question. Could there be a slight danger here of this movie being so good that it makes, sits outside of the DCEU, that it maybe makes the movie-going public look at the ongoing DCEU movies as, Like, is there a potential, is there a risk here that this movie could shine so bright that it kind of overshadows the other stuff they're trying to do with their DC properties?
I mean, there's the potential, but you also have very different tones for things.
Yeah.
And Marvel's executed that really well, where we have Guardians has a very different vibe than a lot of the other films in the Marvel franchise, right? And I think the DCEU can do the same thing. Aquaman is more of their kind of like funky fun situation. We have Shazam, which is much more family friendly and more about family dynamics. And then this can be our dark pivot, And when they come together, that's might be where things get a little hinky. But as individual entities, I think they can work.
I think you're right about that. Like, that's my first thought is that, when you look at what Matt Reeves is doing in The Batman, and then you look over what that Lynn is doing over in Aquaman, it's clearly two completely different kinds of movies. And I don't know if it would make the audiences look badly, but I don't know, Rob, what do you think? Could the success of The Batman be a bad thing for the rest of the DCEU?
I don't think so. Simple answer, I don't think so, because look, we know, like, for instance, it's the difference between watching 2001: A Space Odyssey and watching Star Wars. We know that these are both space-bound films, but one is dealing with the profound beginnings of humanity, and the other is a space fantasy, with space wizards and laser swords and spaceships and giant talking slugs. Everyone knows when they're watching, audiences are sophisticated enough to understand, okay, this is what I'm in for. Just like, you can watch an animated film, like take your pick of your Princess Mononoke. You can watch Princess Mononoke and then you can go watch Finding Nemo. They're both animated movies, but you can tell because of the tone and the way it's set up, you can enjoy those. You buy in from the beginning. When we're going to see Batman, Ben Affleck, and Michael Keaton come back in The Flash and Flashpoint, this is fantasy sci-fi. Whereas this Batman movie is probably going to be described as a crime thriller that happens to have Batman as the main protagonist. And it's going to be presented tonally in a way that we've never seen before. I would call this Batman, in my own mind right now, using my own analogy, this is going to be the 2001 of Batman movies.
Yeah, Fast and Furious 5 was the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, this is 2000,
2001.
This is 2001 of Batman movies, and people are going to laugh. But if you go and if the Tim Burton Batman movies were, say, call it the Planet of the Apes, talking apes and Charlton Heston.
Good analogy, since Matt Reeves did direct Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah, I mean, and it's I think that, though, because even within science fiction movies, there's wildly different tones. 2001 is more along the lines of something like Close Encounters.
Right. By the way, I want to point out, in asking the question, that I don't think it will, but in asking the question, hey, do you think maybe the big success, if it's that good, it could negatively affect the other things? One of our viewers in the live chat there, Reggie Phoenix, had a great response. He said this. He says, well, we jumped from Shazam to the Joker. I mean, and that's true. And we were able to, we as the audience were able to watch Shazam. I love Shazam. It's one of my favorite DC movies ever. I thought it was fantastic. And then we went right into the Joker, which won Academy Awards. And you're right, there was no problem with the success of either of them.
You know what? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, someone pointed out, like, if they do go with another movie, this character, the ventriloquist, as a villain in the next one, that would be creepy as hell, wouldn't it? I thought that idea would be.
It's a very creepy villain. I like, someone in here also recommended Hush, which I'd love to see a film version of Hush done well.
I think we're definitely I think we already see some influences of Hush in the trailers that we've seen.
John, when I was talking about Planet of the Apes, I was thinking about the original Planet of the Apes. But if you think about what Matt Reeves did in his Planet of the Apes movies, and you compare, like, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, where you have the three apes come back from the future and they're out shopping in Beverly Hills and they become the toast of the town. I mean, this is
It was the George Clooney Batman of the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah, so and then Matt Reeves came in and he made his Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. So he did for the Planet of the Apes movies what he's now doing for Batman.
I agree. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about the reaction? Now, of course, the first reactions are not the be-all and end-all of what a movie will be. I mean, quite often it's pretty accurate, but we've seen cases where it's not, and that's fine. But how does it make you feel hearing these kind of reactions? Reactions like absolutely euphoric and spectacular, and hearing things like Robert Pattinson is going to be your new Batman. It's at least got to be encouraging. How are you guys feeling about that right now? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to spend the rest of our time taking questions from you guys in the audience. Now, before we get there, though, one last word from another group of people who made today's episode of the John Campea Show possible, the good folks over at Keeps. Hey guys, we want to take a minute and thank the sponsor of today's video, the good folks at Keeps. Now look, you guys probably already know that 2 out of every 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're just 35 years old. Now that's where Keeps comes in, because Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. That means the guys that use it love it. Keeps offers a simple, affordable, and stress-free way to keep your hair. It's also low cost. Treatments start as low as just $10 per month, and Keeps offers generic versions for the 2 FDA-approved medications to prevent hair loss. That means treatment plans are affordable, typically half the cost of pharmacy prices. Keeps has everything your hair needs delivered straight to your door with discreet packaging and proven results. Remember, prevention is the key. Treatments can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so the sooner you act, the better. When it comes to your hair, save more, spend less with Keeps. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to Keeps, that's KEEPS.com/Campea to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's Keeps, KEEPS.com/Campea to get your first month free. Keeps.com/Campea. And thank you to the folks at Keeps for helping to make today's episode of the John Campea Show possible. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on over and start here taking from your live questions. Chris, what's going on in the live chat there?
All right, we got one of 2 from Suthius. Thank you for this $20 super chat, man. Almost a year ago, when first Thor 4 set photos were released or leaked, we did see a large Viking-looking ship docked in Asgard with a lot of seats on it. Compound with the recent Legos toys set first look, is it crazy to think that Thor and Korg perhaps now own or operate such tours using a huge mechanical flying Viking ship? Perhaps that's why his new uniform is so colorful.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't put anything by them at this point, but remember, the last we saw Thor, he was heading off-world with the Guardians, the Asgardians of the Galaxy. And we do know that we're going to see Chris Pratt in this movie. I believe they've also confirmed Zoe Saldana. We're probably playing small roles in this. We'll probably be in there for a bit of the movie and then they'll be gone. But I would probably guess Suthius at, no, we're not going to start with Thor operating a tour with Now, Korg, maybe. I could totally see maybe Korg doing something like that.
Tour boat.
I could see him staying behind with King Valkyrie and doing stuff like that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's feasible. And you got to remember, too, that the goat boat and these goats are canon. It's not something that Taika just pulled out of his tush. Like, these are real characters in there and from real Norse mythology. So it could be one of those bonkers things that Taika did is, we're going to use Tooth Grinder as a tour guide goat. Or it could be something where we're seeing, some real epic goat battling.
Epic goat battling is always the best kind of battling. Rob, what do you think?
Well, also in the comics, Asgard got relocated to Oklahoma. And they had the whole siege storyline, which I love with the Dark Avengers. That was dope. Yep. And the whole battle, of Asgard. So they've changed it a little bit, but the fact that Asgard's on Earth now, why wouldn't people like Korg avail themselves of perhaps, let's give you a little taste. Let's give you humans a little taste of
Asgardian
space.
culture.
You people from Midgard, you haven't lived until you've taken a little taste of what we can show you. I mean, that would make sense. I mean, how is Asgard? They got to figure out some way to finance their little
make it a tourist trap.
I mean,
what's next?
Andy, since they both have films coming out this year about the multiverse, I would laugh my ass off if the Flash and Doctor Strange came across each other in a scene.
Well, hey, listen, don't laugh. There's somebody in this room that believes that actually may happen. Now, listen. As ridiculous as that whole thing sounds, what Rob points out is completely valid. The reality is that last shot we got in Peacemaker with Flash and Aquaman and a stand-in for Henry Cavill Superman and a stand-in for Wonder Woman. That was done on a Marvel set, apparently. And I would bet $100, not 1,000, but I would bet $100 that no, we are not going to see glimpses of MCU characters in Flashpoint, nor are we going to see glimpses of the DC characters in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. But even though I would bet $100 against it, I would be a fool not to say that the possibility of it exists. And it does, because Rob, you pointed out about where they shot it. Are you still feeling pretty good about that?
Here's the thing. When I was a kid, one of the coolest comics that I got, it was the oversized version, was Superman versus Spider-Man. And that was awesome. You know, and then Marvel had a history of teaming up with DC and doing crossover events. I love the X-Men and Teen Titans. They crossed over. You know, Dark Side and Dark Phoenix were in the same comic. And that was in the early 80s. Justice League versus Avengers with George Perez was done. Why not open that door? You think, like Kevin Feige made it work with Spider-Man and Sony. You think, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? If Kevin Feige called up David Zaslav and said, "Hey, dude, what do you think? I'm just saying, what if we just opened a door? Just open a door." You know, I mean, they're both doing multiverse movies this year. You know, just a snippet, a glimpse.
No.
This is where a cameo, a little tiny cameo for just a split second, people would go berserk. And this movie is called Multiverse of Madness.
I'm saying not yet, Rob. Not yet. Wait till everyone's fatigued of the superhero thing,
Dude,
and then they'll be like, okay, let's do this.
There's
and then they'll do it.
28 Marvel movies.
Okay, Ray just pointed out something here, because I was thinking about the word that was in my head was desperation. That to me reeks of desperation. And it's the type of desperation move you pull out when it's like, okay, now we got nothing else to lean back on. Because again, to me, I've always said, if you're going to do these cameos, make them narratively driven. Don't just do a, look, little children audience, look at these shiny keys. And to me, that's all that would be. It would just be a, look, everybody, cheap pop like a band on stage saying, "Hello, Ohio."
Listen,
it would be cheap.
It's also a movie. It's
you're
also a
right.
popcorn superhero film. And I will go back and say, there is 40 years, more than 40 years now, because you're back in the 70s. There is 40 years of Marvel crossing over with DC. 40 years of tradition. And it is not cheap, because you have that tradition. And Kevin Feige, I guarantee you, he had that Superman versus Spider-Man, and that art was awesome. And the cover, call it up, look at that cover. Spider-Man versus Superman, the golden thing, it is awesome. And if you teased a little bit of that,
But they did a full story of that. That was a full story.
it was, and
Yeah.
I love the X-Men crossover when the X-Men met Teen Titans and they're fighting Darkseid and Dark Phoenix. It was rad.
We'll get it.
And I'm just saying, this isn't an act of desperation. This is opening a door that's going to be frothy fun and speculation for the next
Frothy
5 or
fun.
10 years.
I think it would be absolutely sad and desperate, but everything you said is correct. And I like I said, I think I'd be a fool to say it wouldn't be possible, because it's possible.
Let me ask you this. If you are sitting in a theater, do you think that people, if they saw a crossover moment, it is the Multiverse of Madness after all, and we're probably going to see Doctor Strange being, like we saw in the comic or in the What If show, flung through universes, boom, 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 America Chavez going. You don't think it wouldn't be cool if in one of those universes that you actually saw the Justice League?
No, I don't think it would be cool.
Come on,
I
dude.
think it would be sad and desperate.
As a lifetime comic book reader, I would lose my
But
shit.
while I'm saying that I don't think it would be cool and that would be sad and desperate, let me also say, do I believe that there would be an incredible pop from the audience if they did? Of course there would be. And I will also say this to go against my own point. One of the best moments of X-Men First Class really didn't tie into the narrative either. It's when younger Charles and younger Eric end up in a bar to find this mutant with claws. Say, we'd like to come talk to you. Go fuck yourself. It's one of the best moments in the film. And it really was
narrative driven.
It was not really narrative driven, and therefore that's going against my own argument. So I got to say,
no, but it was narrative driven because they were looking for.
It did tie in.
What if Doctor Strange is being flung through multiple realities, and at the same time you see for some reason Flash running?
Yeah, desperate.
And the two of them just go and.
Sad and desperate.
And then what if in the Flash movie they play the same place from Flash?
That's right. Somebody already did this on YouTube. but listen, I'm sitting here saying I think it would be sad and desperate, but I think there are some solid arguments against that because, like I said, that Wolverine thing, it worked for me. So, hey, what am I saying? And would it get a huge pop? It would get a huge pop.
I think it'd be awesome.
It'll happen one day.
It's someday.
Yeah,
someday.
one day.
All right, we got to keep going here. What's next?
This is from Anish. I apologize for having a difficult name, but my name is actually.
Is there one from Blake?
Oh, shoot. Blake. Yes, sorry. And Ravon. Golly. Hold on. Sorry. Mine is all out of order. Okay. Ravon first. One of two. Rob, your Star Trek rant was heartfelt and showed how much you truly care about the franchise. Your passion about the things you love shines through and reminds me of the big guy in the best way.
Thank you so much.
In the best way possible. Also,
I'm actually getting all verklempt.
Aw. Also, John, if I don't get a chance to chat in before Saturday, I want to wish you a happy birthday, good sir. I hope the Batman ends up being a wonderful belated present to you.
Oh, I hope so too. And yeah, look, it's, I often tell people, like when I get really worked up over something regarding Star Wars, or I get really worked up over something regarding Disney or Warner Brothers, I remind people, it's like, if this was something I didn't care about, then I wouldn't care. I mean, it'd be blah, blah, blah. But because it is something like when Warner Brothers does something really dumb, you gotta understand, I love Warner Brothers. Right. They're the magnificent studio. I love Warner Brothers, and I love the vast majority of the stuff that they make. And so when they do something very stupid, I get very passionate about it. I've loved the Toronto Maple Leafs with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength my entire life. So when they do something really dumb, which is all the time, I get very upset about it, and I get verklempt about it. So I think it speaks to that. Yeah, when you love something. Now, I disagree with you on your take on Star Wars, but I know that your position on Star Wars and your fire on
Star Wars or Star Trek.
So sorry, Star Trek. Thank you.
I'm right, by the way.
But it comes from a place of the fact that you love the property.
Yes.
That you're a little out of touch, but you love it. Just even if you're right and I'm wrong, or maybe you're out of touch.
The creators of modern Star Trek are out of touch.
Oh, see, I disagree. But it comes from a place of passion. And I think that's why, because I get asked sometimes, I get emails saying, you and Rob get like really disagree on some big things. And I'll say, well, yeah, just like how does that work? Well, it works because when we have stuff that we really disagree on, we both know that each of us are coming from a place of our love of what it is we're talking about.
Plus, I mean,
and so we can have a disagreement on that, and that's fine, and that's great. We enjoy the conversation.
Look, I think our greatest disagreement that we have is about art itself. The subjectivity and I believe in the objectivity of art. And I think that is a conversation that should always continue. I don't think there's necessarily an answer to that because it's okay. If we just agreed with everything, this show wouldn't be fun.
No.
It would be super boring if everyone had the same taste.
Yeah. What is the point of even talking about something if everybody just thinks the same thing? Yeah. There's no point in having the discussion. All right. Anyway, thank you for saying that in, man. I appreciate that. What's next?
And thank you for correcting your pronunciation, Revan. I appreciate you. Blake62. I rewatched MI Ghost Protocol last night. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol last night. That has to be one of the coolest movies ever. I forgot how good that one was.
Like, seriously, especially after coming out of the first two Mission Impossible movies, which I didn't love. I didn't love the first two.
No, I didn't either.
I didn't really start getting on board with it until Mission Impossible 3. What Tom Cruise has done with this franchise is remarkable.
It's insane, really.
And I'm not just talking about the crazy stunts he does. Like, he's made some great, entertaining, fun movies that we always look forward to the next one coming. And yes, he has also created a side thing of what crazy ass shit is Tom Cruise going to do this time.
But this franchise is almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
And it's still rolling.
He'll be wrapping up soon.
Yeah,
he'll be wrapping up.
I mean, but still, it's if they wrap up with MI8.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. What's next?
Anish, I apologize for having a difficult name, but my name is actually pronounced Anish, like the Italian word capiche. Thank you so much when you give me pronunciation, you guys, because I'm going phonetic, right? Public school. You got to help me out. Anyway, fun Batman fact. Jeff Loeb, who wrote The Long Halloween, was Matt Reeves' screenwriting teacher in college.
Is that
I love
true?
that. If
Wow.
that's true, that's amazing.
That is a really cool fact, if that is indeed true. I think that's a really cool. Thanks for dropping that
Yeah.
one on us, Anish. That's actually a really cool thing to know.
That's
all right.
rad.
What's next?
Andy, we now know from the South by Southwest convention that Jensen Ackles' mysterious DC project involves Greg Berlanti. Yep, lost all interest when Berlanti came up.
Well, I mean, look, to be fair, Berlanti has also done some great stuff over there. Like the first few seasons of Arrow, I think I'll defend them forever.
Oh, they're great.
The first 2.5 seasons until Captain Buckles came along, the first 2.5 seasons of Arrow, I think are magnificent television. I love the first 5 seasons of Flash. I think are great, and even a couple of the ones I've fallen off Flash. I don't really watch Flash anymore, but right up till the season that Aaron was in, I thought it was really quite good.
Yep.
I really like Black Lightning. Now,
I did too.
yeah, now he's also had some swings and misses, but I would not discount. I think that's being premature to discount anything just because Berlanti's involved, because he's done some pretty good stuff there. All right, what's next?
A. Marcellus just realized that with Keaton's return, it's also the return of the black and yellow emblem. Heck yeah, it is. It's been so many years since I've seen it in live action.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I remember right from the first concept picture that came out from Flash. That yellow and black emblem, that is the calling card of the Michael Keaton Batman. That's it. When you see that yellow in that Batman emblem, that means Michael Keaton. And it elicits that instant memories of those original Michael Keaton Batman movies. Rob, what about you? How do you feel about
I
that?
totally agree with that. I mean, remember those posters were just that emblem.
Yes.
You know, you cut off at the sides. I love that. I stole a bunch of those bus station size posters.
All right. What's next?
This is from The Boy. Thor's Lego set calls Valkyrie king. Why not queen?
Why not King?
Smash the patriarchy. I don't know.
Yeah. Why? I mean, that's the thing. When we ask the question, why not this? Then turn the question around and say,
Yeah.
well, why not what it is?
It's a arbitrary
And
word
remember,
about being a leader.
this is an alien planet civilization that is now here. So why anything? What? I'm sure we're going to find out, but I kind of think that the distinction is great. I
At the
love
end of
that
the
she calls
movie,
herself king.
He says they need a king.
Yep, they need a king. And who knows?
Monkey.
Maybe in Thor, maybe in Asgardian, there's no concept of queen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's whoever is the supreme ruler on the throne, you call them king, regardless of, I mean, it could be a million different reasons why, but ultimately the only question I ask is, why not king?
Yeah.
So it is what it is. All right, what's next?
This is from Max Pompano. Hey, John and crew. I work in a group home for kids with trauma, abuse, and neglectful backgrounds.
Cheers to you, my friend. Cheers to you.
Yeah, some days are really hard, but your show is always a bright spot. Thank you and keep up the great work. Thank you for your great work.
Yeah, thank you for doing what you do.
Wow.
I actually worked with teenagers for a while, and that is difficult work. And Max, if our show on any level and in the community here with everybody else in the live chat can be something that lifts you up and gives you energy to go into your day, that's an awesome honor for us, dude. So thank you for the work that you do in the world. It's incredibly important, and thanks for being part of our community, man. All right, what's next?
City of Swift. Just wanted to send out words of encouragement to everyone right now. May we get through these uncertain times to a better tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I remember somebody, whenever there's a big thing going on in the world, I will always get somebody that writes to me, well, says a lot about you. You're going on and just talking about movies today. There's more important things going on in the world. Of course there are. There are more important things going on in the world every day. I don't have delusions of thinking movies are the most single important issue going on the planet Earth right now on any day of the week or any day of the year. Of course, this is meant to be an oasis from that, as are movies in and of themselves. And so, and by the way, speaking about the bigger, more important issues in the world are things way beyond my pay grade. Nobody gives a shit, nor should anybody give a shit about what I think is going on the important issues in the world.
Like modern Star Trek.
But, you know, we are here as the movies are here, that we're an oasis from that. So if you want to get away from that for a bit, recharge your batteries, and then go back out and engage in those conversations in other places, that's what we're here for. So But yes, so thank you for that, and because that is what we're here trying to do, Sidious, and I appreciate you saying that very much.
You know what else, John? We also have to live lives. We can't stop our lives. Our lives are compartmentalized. There's many different facets to our lives, and it would be a shame that if we stopped living until things just settle down and they're like the way we want them to be. You have to move on. You have to move forward. You have to enjoy the time because the time we have here is so short.
All right, what's next?
All right, from Anish again. No love for the great Kate Blanchett and the actress GOAT conversation?
Listen, she is wonderful. She is one of the best of our generation, and she is still young. I think she can get in that conversation over the next 5 to 10 years for sure. I don't think she can be considered GOAT right now, though.
A couple of people are pointing out that the audio's breaking up. I don't know if that's an issue that you can hear or not, but more than a few
I'm
people.
seeing other people saying that the audio is fine.
Oh, okay.
At any rate, nothing we can do about it.
Sorry about that.
All right, what's next?
From John Redcorn. I know you hate the Nowhere Home mid-credit scene, but what are the chances it plays into Venom 3? Eddie Venom now has knowledge of the multiverse.
Again, it was just such a big letdown because that end credit scene of Venom 2 was so big and it gave such a pop and created such anticipation that we then go into Spider-Man No Way Home and find out that whole thing was just for sitting at the bar for 30 seconds and then leaving. Oh, oops, a little piece of him got left behind, which, by the way, is the dumbest thing in the world. It's like, oops, magic forgot to take that piece. Stupidest thing ever.
Well, it's like if that's not our universe, where's the Venom from our universe? You know, the Sony Venomverse is different than the MCU. So why can't we have the MCU version of Venom show up?
Well, and maybe that's what's happening. We got this tiny little baby symbiote now.
And now it's going to go find Eddie Brock.
But it's not from our universe. It's from another universe.
That's true.
We'll
That's
see.
fair.
All right, what's next?
Harv's K. If Oscars stick with this new format, perhaps they can finally add more categories like best stunt casting, mocap, and voice acting down the road. Yes.
Okay, so
all of those.
There's a couple things. One, I don't believe, and this is going to be taken the wrong way, but I do not believe, and everybody disagrees with me on this, there should not be a best stunt category. And I've said that for years. And the reason I believe there cannot be a best stunt category is because to really be able to know if the stunts were any good, part of the magic of the movies is making the ridiculously impossible seem super easy. And that's part of what stunt people do to create that magic of the movies. But if you're an Oscar voter, you won't know any of that unless you were on set. It's just not something you can know. And that's why I think we should there are, by the way, awards given out every year for stunts by people who know stunts and are involved in it. And that should get way more attention. But I just don't think that you can make it a category with a body of voters who can't possibly know. Anyway, now, stuff like casting, that we see. You can see with your eyes if the casting was effective for a movie. For stuff like voice acting, you can hear, because it used to be that's only applies to animated movies. Today, that's not the case. Now there's voice casting because there's a lot of CG characters in a lot of different movies. So that perhaps now becomes a category big enough. And if the Academy Awards finds an effective way to give out and present a lot of the awards prior to the live broadcast, but then incorporate them into the broadcast in an effective, meaningful way, then I think it does open the door that the Academy can finally start adding a couple more things, especially casting.
Yeah.
Casting, I absolutely think needs to be an award that gets recognized because it is such a pivotal thing that makes or breaks a movie, I think.
You know, you could also make an award and call it Best Virtual Character and honor the interdisciplinary nature of that. Because with like Thanos, you have Josh Brolin and you have the animators working in tandem to create that character. And that was, I mean, I've watched those movies a lot. Thanos is the greatest CG character, motion capture
I still think it might
ever.
be Caesar. I still think it might be Andy Serkis' Caesar.
Yeah, but you know, I'll tell you something. It's Caesar's great.
And Thanos is amazing.
But I think it's harder to make people believe in Thanos than it is because you're recreating something that's real in an ape. Whereas Thanos,
sort of real.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he looks like a real ape from our planet, whereas Thanos is an alien, with purple this skin, purple skin. That like when you get close up on on Thanos' face, you believe that this character is there, and it's.
You could make an argument that's actually reversed, because we have no point of reference for whatever race Thanos is, Titan, but we all know apes. And to make us believe something when it's there, either way, they're both fantastic. But here's the problem I've always had about that idea, though, is that there has never been enough virtual characters to justify an entire category. Because, when you're nominated for Best Actor, you're going up against literally probably 2,000 or 3,000 actors that year.
Nominating package.
There's a huge thing. But with virtual characters, it's too small of a number, but it's growing. And
Right.
it might become something that they have to
Exactly.
consider at some point.
Well, and also, too, y'all, until our own union recognizes that we are acting and doing great work, the Academy's not going to do it. Because as a SAG voter, as a SAG nomineer, I wasn't voting for other voice actors. That's not even a category.
Yeah,
And it's ridiculous.
They got to
I'd
get
pay to
into
be in your
SAGs
union.
first.
If I have to be a union member to do my work, and I like my union, it really, really helps me out. But I think I should be able to vote for people who are excelling in that. They're winning Emmys. Let them win a SAG award.
I agree. I think the SAG needs to be the first ones to put it in there. You're absolutely right. All right, what's next?
James Wheeler. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited. I'll be seeing The Godfather at the movie theater this weekend.
Nice.
I've seen it many times, but this will be my first time seeing it in theaters.
James, you and I are in the same boat. This is going to be my first time seeing The Godfather, what some people consider to be the greatest film of all time. I've never seen it on the big screen. This will be my first time, and I'm very, very excited for it. You got plans to go check it out in the theater?
Oh, yes, I do. I can, and it's at the AMC. It's at in the Dolby Cinema.
Yep, best
It's
way
gonna
to possibly watch
It's gonna
it.
look incredible.
I cannot wait. I hope you have a really good time watching it, James, and may we all have an offer we can't refuse to go and see The Godfather this week. All right, what's next?
Orlando Orego. Hey, John and crew. Thanks for this show, especially with news happening in the world. Let's talk movies and entertainment and get through the day. Bring on the filthy.
Thank you, Orlando. And yeah, then, our show will be done. You go back to all the regular stuff, but that's what we're here to do, and I appreciate that, man, and we're glad you're here to be a part of it, Orlando. All right, what's next?
Andy, with the crazy influx of sponsors you're getting, would you still accept a sponsorship from Zevia if those cheap sons of bitches approach you?
I'll tell you what. I'm just going to give you a little bit of inside baseball here, okay, guys? I'm going to give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain about some of the stuff going on here. So you guys know, for like 15 years, I tried to get sponsors on the stuff we do. I had AMC promise me, we'll get sponsors. They never did. I had Complex and Collider swearing up and down, we'll get sponsors. Never did. Not real ones. And then I came across this guy reached out to me. I said, no, I am a sponsor rep. I can get sponsors in the John Campea Show. Give me a ring and let's talk. And I thought, sure. But this same guy worked with Harloff, my buddy Harloff. So I gave Christian a call. Said, this guy legit? Christian's like, this guy's legit. And I started working with him. And we right now, I think we have 15 sponsors right now. We have sponsors lining up thanks to the fact that we have an active, loyal, awesome, engaging community. The sponsors are seeing what's happening here, and I am literally turning sponsors down. Like, it's not even ones that I don't want to be associated. It's like there's some good sponsors coming along. Like I said, I can't. We just don't have room. Mm-hmm. Like even Movie Club. I'm going to tell you this right now. On we started a separate show, Movie Club. We're only 3 episodes in. I've already been notified by the agencies. We've got 4 sponsors that want to be sponsors of Movie Club. And it's all because that we have a community that is active and engages and is fun and creates a wonderful environment. And the sponsors see it and they're like, we want to be associated with that. And it's been amazing. But yes, if Zevia came along, we would find a way to fit in Zevia.
I mean, I got to tell you, John, all of our sponsors are tremendous. And actually, I've been actually availing myself of the Campea codes to get some. I mean, I don't know if I'm not supposed to. I'm using codes to get our own sponsors because they've got great stuff.
Manscaped.
Shh. But Zevia, until we get them as a sponsor, we're slackers.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Zevia no more. What's in my cup? I don't know. Could
What
be
is
anything.
it?
Could be alcohol. I don't drink,
Yeah.
but it could be hard alcohol that I'm drinking in this cup right now.
Zevia's got to make some kind of hard Zevia though. That'd be kind of cool.
Did you just who just came out with a Mountain Dew? Did you see that? Mountain Dew just came out with hard Mountain Dew.
Ugh.
That's spiked. It's
Makes
got
my
alcohol in
teeth
it.
hurt.
Yeah.
Dude, Zevia mixed with Jameson is really good.
I might have to give it a shot at some point. All right, what's next?
Another one from Andy. One of two. Hi, John. Thanks for everything you do. Between your show right now and Batman reactions, they've been a relieving ray of light for me in the past 24 hours, considering what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for being here and being part of that, Andy. And it is a break for us just doing the show as well. Thanks, man. All right, what's next?
Casey Mack was wondering your thoughts on the trailer to The Man Who Fell to Earth Showtime series starring Chiwetel Ejiofor. I think it looks very interesting.
Have not seen it yet, have not watched it yet, but you guys know Chiwetel Ejiofor, I believe, is one of the, if not the, him and Ben Foster are the most underrated, underappreciated, massive talents in the world of acting today. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I've been in love with this guy ever since he was the operative in Serenity, and he has done nothing but kill it ever since. So I have not seen this yet, but I'm going to. Have any of you guys seen the trailer for this yet?
Yes.
No. Oh.
And?
Oh, yes. Okay, so The Man Who Fell to Earth is based on a novel by
Yes.
Walter Tevis, who also wrote The Queen's Gambit and who wrote The Hustler and the Color of Money. He's a great author, and Nicholas Roeg made the first version of The Man Who Fell to Earth in the 70s, starring Buck Henry and David Bowie and Candy Clark. And it's one of my favorite science fiction films of the 70s. This is different than that. They've taken the book and they've decided to update it, change it, make it more modern. And it's done by Alex Kurtzman, responsible for modern Star Trek.
Who I quite like Alex.
So full disclosure, I'm primed to dislike this and everything I've seen about it, but Chiwetel Ejiofor is great, and I'm cautiously optimistic that I will like this show.
All right, what's next?
City Swift, on a lighter note, have 2 of my 3 AMC reservations set for The Batman next week. Maybe I'll see y'all at Burbank between one of my 3 viewings.
Well, we are going to be there at least for 2 of them, because we're going to be there on the 1st, and then we're going to be there opening day, the 4th, for our John Campea Show fan event screening of The Batman. By the end of today, everybody who's getting an invite to come should be getting their invites to come and join us for that. But that's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe we will bump into you there, Sidious. I look forward to it. It is my favorite theater. I kind of still, even though I don't live in Burbank anymore, I still consider AMC Burbank 16, where we opened an AMC Movie News office in the converted storage closet, where I went there for Anne and I lived there in Burbank for 7 years, and that was my theater. It was in walking distance for me. Cannot wait to go watch Batman.
And you cannot overemphasize the fact that there's a giant Jim Lee designed Batman statue outside the theater. So there's not a better place on the planet
great.
Earth to go see the Batman.
It's
I'm
true.
very excited about it. All right, what's next?
Orlando Rego, I am so happy The Batman is getting great reviews.
Yeah.
I hope I enjoy it. I was there. Was there a movie that you liked but critics hated, or vice versa?
Oh, many, sure, that happens all the time. Remember, it's not just, the critics are just people, right? The critics are people. There are many movies that I like that many other people didn't like. There are many movies that I did like that other people didn't like. It's true of everybody. So absolutely, for me, I love the first Venom. I love that movie. That movie gives me great joy when I watch it. It's great. And generally speaking, the critics, now 80-90% of the time, as I think is probably true for most of us, my opinions kind of fall in line with what the other critics do as well. But like anybody else, sometimes it doesn't. But Venom for me is the one that really stands out most recently that I absolutely love, even though a lot of the critics did. Do you guys have any ones that stand out to you that you really, really like that maybe a majority of the critics didn't?
Ridley Scott's The Counselor, especially the extended version.
You like that movie?
Love it.
I keep forgetting that you like. I mean, me and
love
Schnepp
The
used to
Counselor.
talk so much about how bad that movie was.
I love The Counselor.
That's good for you, man. What about you, Chris? You got one that
My most recent one is Don't Look Up. My friend Mia Tapali and
Right.
she's another actress. We went and saw the screening of it for the SAG Awards and everything. And we walked out like, this movie is so great. We loved this so much. And then when it started getting panned, she would text me and be like, why is everyone wrong?
that's how we always feel, right?
Yeah.
That's how we always feel. All right, what's next?
Daniel Lyons. Hello, John and crew. Just wanted to.
Oh, wait, time out. I just want to point something out.
Whoa.
Daniel Lyons sent in $100 super chat. Daniel, thank you so much for supporting our channel and what we do here on that level, man. That is incredibly generous of you. Thank you, dude. All right. So, sorry. What does Daniel have to say?
Just wanted to say, started watching your show 4 months ago and got hooked. I only knew about the show because of the leaked photos of Spider-Man and was like, who the heck is John Campea? Also, just want to say, love you all and keep being amazing.
It worked. You know what's funny about that? Here's the funny thing about that, though. I didn't get any of the traffic from those because I put up those pictures and then took them down like within 5 minutes. The people who got traffic from them were the ones who took the pictures before I deleted them and plastered it on their stuff and left them up. Those are the people who benefited from them. But I'll take it, Daniel. I'll take it. No.
Being so confused because I was like, what are y'all talking about? Because I kept getting messages of being like, did you see what John did? And I was like, no, what are you talking about?
Well, I know. I mean, that's the funny thing of it, right? It's like I had put up those pictures thinking they were not real, which is what informed me about how we handled the Doctor Strange thing the other day. Because I thought well enough. It's like, you know what? I better get a hold of some people to find out if this is real or not before we run a story on it. It's a good thing that I did. But it's funny because, like I said, I had it up on my Twitter for like 5 minutes. And Twitter analytics tells me less than 500 people saw it. Less than 500 people saw my post before I took it down. So everybody around the world who saw that post saw it because other people intentionally took them and redistributed them. It wasn't me. But I did learn my lesson. That's why I was smart enough to get a hold of some contacts of mine yesterday to say, hey, we got this stuff on Doctor Strange. I just think it's interesting to talk about. I don't know that this is real. And then they got back to me, yeah, you probably shouldn't talk about that. And it's like, oh, okay. So I did learn a very, very valuable lesson from that whole escapade.
You know, John, and clearly that escapade just severely damaged the release of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, yeah, hurt it terribly.
I mean, it didn't perform the way it was supposed
to. The funny thing too about that whole thing was this, were those specific images, did they end up online because I'm the one who put them up? Absolutely. But I had no reason to believe they were real. But the other thing is this, but all they were pictures of things that had been reported in outlets for over a year. And by the way, I put those pictures up months after video footage of Andrew Garfield in the movie was out and online. But you know, whatever. I learned a valuable lesson. I now, whenever there's something comes in that really actually could be authentic, now I know to get in touch with my studio contacts first and find out if it's legit or not. So I learned a good lesson there and we moved on. All right. But hey, whatever brought you here, Daniel, is a good thing. So we're glad you're here regardless. All right. What's next?
This is from William Bangs. To cut to the length of the Oscar broadcast, air only those awards related to feature films in wide release, posting the rest on the Academy's website.
I mean, that is something that's kind of been proposed before. That kind of a proposal has been brought forth before. I don't side with that one personally, but listen, I'll tell you, I am very much for this idea of finding a way to celebrate the winners and still cut down on the length of the ceremony at the same time. So again, like we had this big debate about this yesterday about the good or bad idea-ness of this whole thing. And I think it's actually a pretty creative way to try to have your cake and eat it too. And look, when the Oscars happen, we may feel like, my God, that just felt messy. That just felt like a total mess. And if it is, they need to make corrections moving forward. But I actually think it's a good way to still celebrate the winners, let the winners get a moment of glory on national television, and yet shorten it down and spend more time focusing on the categories that the audience at home cares about. If they can do it, excellent. But it may turn out to be a mess that really just ends up demoting categories and anything else. And if it is, they need to change it. But I encourage them to try. But I don't know. It could be terrible. Rob.
A lot of people have come out against it. Like the Editors Guild came out shooting.
Oh, well, of course they did. Of course they did. It's their job to come out shooting. But I stand by my initial statement when we read this story yesterday. It's about damn time. I think this is a good move. And I may change my mind after we see the Oscars. So who knows? We'll give it a shot and we'll see how it works. All right, what's next?
Fatim Mahmood. Over under 50% in Multiverse of Madness, Thor will kill Ant-Man, and because of that, Venom and Mantis will go after him. I think it's 100%, but I want to hear your opinion.
I have no idea where you're getting any of that from.
Why would Scott? What?
Why would Thor
Why
kill
would Thor
Ant-Man?
kill Scott?
Why would what? What does Ant-Man have to do with Multiverse of Madness? Anyway, I have no. Maybe this is connected to some issue of something that I'm not thinking of right now. But so I will go absolutely well under half. 50% fat time. All right, what's next?
Lucy BX. Hi, crew.
Lucky.
Oh, Lucky. Sorry. Thank you very much. Lucky BX. Hi, crew. I watched the premiere of Snowfall last night, and I have to say, I can see Damson Idris, okay, as a T'Challa recast or variant. He's a great talent. I'm not familiar with this actor.
I have not watched Snowfall. and I don't actually have many people I know who watch it. One particular friend that I do know swears by it though, and it's gotten multiple seasons. So,
I know nothing about this.
but Snowfall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've actually pumped it a good amount too, but it's a show I never did watch.
It has completely eluded me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people too. But from what I have heard, it's actually supposed to be really, really quite good. All right, what's next?
Casey Mack, one of two. I feel if streaming services had audio commentaries in their special features, that could be an end to me buying physical media because sometimes I buy DVD and Blu-rays just for that feature.
Oh, listen, I'll tell you what. Yeah. I would have I've already transitioned off of physical media a long time ago, but I would have transitioned off years before that if it wasn't for the fact of the bonus features, particularly director's commentary.
And yet, you have a beautiful 4K disc player inside that PlayStation 5.
I do that. I just watched Cyrano on, as a matter of fact. So I got to give my review of Cyrano here pretty soon. But at any rate, yes, it is. That's definitely.
I think I'm going to
true,
start
Casey.
buying you discs every week and leaving them all around your house. Just to I'll put them under your pillow, put them in your bathroom.
Aw, like
Feel-
a Blu-ray tooth fairy.
Yeah, that's right. 4K Tooth Fairy.
But you know what'll happen? I'll see it. I'll go, man, that movie. I should stream that. And then I'd probably hop on and just stream it instead of taking the disc out, walking it over, putting it in the place. It's just
Well, then that's what I'll do. I'll just start sticking discs in your PlayStation, so when you turn it on, they'll just start playing.
just automatically. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher, were the pictures you mentioned on 223 the same pictures you nearly posted before No Way Home? Will you share what you knew during the eventual spoiler talk?
No, here. Okay, yeah. During spoiler talk, I'll let you guys know what the images were. No, the images. So the Spider-Man images that I had posted, I was getting ready to post a couple more. And that's when I got contacted and said, actually, those pictures are pretty legitimate. You better take them down. And I had two others that I was getting ready to post too. And I assumed once I found out that the other Spider-Man pictures were real, I assumed that these ones were from Spider-Man as well. That was my assumption. They weren't. And so because I had shown them to Rob and we watched Spider-Man together and we came out, we were both like, that scene was not in Spider-Man. It must be from
Blah, blah,
X.
blah.
Yes, it must be from blah, blah, blah. And that just got me more excited. And when blah, blah, blah happens, we will tell you what that picture was.
And by the way, blah, blah, blah is not Multiverse of Madness.
Yep, we'll tell you that much. Although we shouldn't narrow it down for people.
Yeah,
I'm
we
so out of the loop, but it's so frustrating.
But blah, 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 when blah, blah, blah happens, we will totally tell you what the image was. As far as the images that we saw regarding Multiverse of Madness, yes, once the spoiler discussion comes, we will reveal what those images were, and we'll let you guys know.
Although, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it could be.
Actually, yeah, it could be. It's possible. All right, what's next?
Blake62, is there a lesson for Warner Brothers to learn from Peacemaker about first establishing characters that people care about, then making the big crossover movie?
No. I will always go back to Guardians of the Galaxy. You did not need a standalone Star-Lord movie, and then a standalone Gamora movie, and then a standalone Drax movie, and then a standalone Groot movie, and then a standalone Rocket movie. You didn't need to do that. Just make Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, John, in the comic books, they're already a team. It doesn't matter. To the moviegoers have never seen these characters, and you didn't need to make individual films of them first to make a big team-up movie, which is what the Guardians are, and have it be incredibly successful and beloved. You don't need to do solo movies first before having team up and crossover movies. You don't. You just need to make... Do you think Tango and Cash? Did you need a Tango solo movie and then a Cash solo movie?
Well, to be fair, that would have been kind of cool.
I mean, that also would have been pretty cool, yes. But did you need a Tango and a Cash movie before you made Tango and Cash? No, you did not. It's all... Did you need a solo Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, a solo Luke Skywalker movie, a solo Han Solo movie, a solo Chewbacca? No, you make Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And you write your characters well, and you do it right. And if you do that, I tell you, it's not the formula. You could have launched the DCU with the Justice League movie. You totally could have, and it totally could have been
and
great.
they were going to.
And they were
George
planning
Miller
on
was
it.
going to do Justice League Mortal.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And it could have been great if you write it great.
Exactly.
And if you do it well. It's all about making a great movie. It's not about a formula that you got to do individual film. Screw that formula. It can work, but so can the other ways. But anyway, that's my take on it. Anyway, I get worked up on that one. Thanks for sending that in, Blake. All right, what's next?
Splinter Cell Tactical Espionage. Do you guys know that Pattinson borrows some ideas from Legends of the Dark Knight Shaman issue? He's going to be a detective with manner like a witch doctor who examines crime scenes with precision.
Well, look, from what we understand, Splinter Cell, there's about 8 or 9 or 10 different major influences that are going into this Batman, right? Reeves talked about a bunch of them. Pattinson has talked about a number of them too. So I'm absolutely sure you're probably right. Like, I'm not familiar with Dark Knight Shaman. I'm not familiar with that particular story myself, but I wouldn't be surprised at all but there's no one story. Matt Reeves made this pretty clear. There's no one story that is the definitive influence for this movie. Not Year One, not Hush, not The Long Halloween, but rather it's a conglomeration of a lot of those influences, and I'm sure that's one of them. Have you heard about any of the other influences?
Well, I
that are
think
in this
Shaman
one?
is actually a Legends of the Dark Knight comic, if memory serves, and I have those. But yeah, like you said, there's a number of different influences. But I think more so than the comics, I keep hearing David Fincher and Seven and Zodiac being referenced in relation to this movie, which excites me to no end.
All right, what's next?
Mr. Hank Dunn. Rex for Movie Club. Nightcrawler. Army of Darkness. John Carter. I Love You, Philip Morris. And most definitely Jaws.
I think out of all those, Jaws is probably the most likely. Some of those movies are great that you met, particularly Nightcrawler, and I love John Carter. But I think one of the things about Movie Club, I mean, we're still kind of defining what it is as we go. But I think one of the foundational things has to be that it's a movie that pretty much all of us have seen and celebrate and know.
And love.
And love. And we want to get together and talk about and celebrate that love we have for those movies. And a lot of people didn't see John Carter. And a lot of people didn't see I Love You, Philip Morris. But Jaws, that's a Hollywood iconic film.
But I also think we talk about why these movies are iconic. How did they become so beloved? And what is it about them that we should identify that make them worth watching? And you know what, John? A lot of our audience hasn't seen these movies. Case in point, Mr. Ray Ora with a 0 has not seen... You've not seen Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I'm sorry. I got to say that I just like all the modern stuff now. You know what I mean? I'm too spoiled by it. That's why I can't go back to the older Star Wars. That's why I like the prequels a lot.
Well,
because they were new.
I'm going to give you something. Spoiler. It takes place in 1936. So it's period accurate.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm not going to hate on it before I watch it. I'll just watch it. We'll see if I like it or not. Hopefully I'll like it so I can join this movie club.
I'm telling you, you're going to like it.
Because if I don't, I shouldn't be on the movie club.
Trust me, you're going to like it. All right, we got to keep moving here because we're almost out of time. We still got a bunch of questions to get through. What's next?
Julian Mott. Happy Thursday, gang. Can't wait for the Batman.
As do we all, Julian. Absolutely. All right, what's next?
Facility Guy. I may or may not be seeing Vengeance this afternoon.
Oh, that would be awesome because I know there are some kind of screenings going on around for it. And if you do get a chance to see that, that's incredible, Facility Guy. I hope you have a great time at it, man. All right, what's next?
Daniel Lyons, who sends in a $50 super chat.
On top of the $100 one he sent in.
Much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Daniel, you just rolling us. Okay. Also, I am looking forward to many movies this year. For me, I loved the Doctor Strange 2 trailer, freaked out hearing Professor X, also loved the Elvis trailer. I still get goosebumps seeing both trailers. Also really excited for the Batman.
Listen, that Elvis trailer was so good.
So good.
I was like, I expected a good movie, Baz Luhrmann and, Tom Hanks. I expect a good movie, but man, I did not expect to be taken with it like that. Did you have a chance to see that Elvis trailer? I can't remember if you were
I
here
was
for
on
that
the show that day. Yeah.
You were? Okay. I didn't know if your car had kept you away from that one.
No, not that day.
Oh, that one does look really, really
It looks
good.
so good.
But I mean, what's great too is, as film fans, look at what we're celebrating. We're celebrating the Batman, and then a musical biopic about Elvis. I mean, two completely different kinds of stories, but they're completely getting our engines revving, and they get us that same kind of excitement. And I love that about being a film fan. And I'm glad you're looking forward to those ones too, Daniel. And again, Daniel, thank you so much for supporting us on that level. That's incredibly generous of you. Thank you for supporting the content that you enjoy watching. We appreciate that, man. All right, what's next?
Nikhil Gangaramani, thoughts on Death on the Nile? I liked it.
Still didn't go see it.
I haven't either.
I was supposed to go
haven't
see it the
still
other day,
either.
and I got to check it out. So, all right, what's next?
Out of Time 1985, 1 year ago today, we got the title announcement for Spider-Man No Way Home. 1 year later, we got such an amazing movie.
Was it really a year before the movie came out?
Remember how they introduced that?
Yeah, with them
They had
coming
that
into the
video thing,
office and the
that-
whiteboard.
Yeah.
Was that a
Cool.
year? It feels like it was like 5 months ago.
Dude, we're
That-
gonna die soon.
Time
Of old age.
passes quickly.
Of old
All right,
age.
Me too.
What's next?
Terry, hey John, you are such a fun YouTube host and quite the businessman. This is probably a long shot, but could you give some insight into the revenue and expenses of running the John Campea YouTube channel? You
I mean,
kinda did.
I've been thinking that one of these days I should actually do a video explaining and breaking down the finances of what goes into making this thing work. Obviously, the number one expense is staff. That's the number one expense of anything. Like the amount of money that I spend. It's awkward saying it in front of these guys, but
Cha-ching!
And don't forget the hot toy stipend you're gonna add.
and the hot toy stipend. Yeah, no, the amount of money, because remember this is not a YouTube show where, hey, let's get together at 10 o'clock and just talk for 3 hours. 20 to 30 man hours of work and energy and effort, like particularly between myself and Ray with the work he's doing, we add it up. It's like 20 to 30 hours of man hours of work that goes into making each episode possible. That takes people to dedicate a good chunk, if not full time. And if people are going to work full time, you got to pay them amount of money that allows them to live because they're not doing other things.
And also with the nature of movie news, the way it breaks randomly sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like some nights or me and John will be working up until the latest has been like 3 a.m.
Yeah, we've been up on the
because
phone
things
with each
break.
other and trying to work out like the graphic shifts and what points we're going to emphasize.
And then early in the morning too, sometimes news breaks and things change and whatever I worked on gets scrapped to
Yep.
fill in that other stuff. So there's a lot of a sacrifice in terms of the time of days, especially
Right.
with news and stuff. But I'm thinking for that video, if you're going to do all the finances, you should have the Trade Federation on. They're pretty good. They're good at it, right? You should, right?
Well, they are
Yeah.
taxing the outlying systems.
But
you know?
yeah, so I mean that's the number one stuff. But there's a lot more expensives too. Like you would not believe if I've told Rob, you would not believe how much we have to pay in taxes. The size of the tax check that I have to cut every year is more than most people make in a year. And it's a crazy. So on top of all that, there's then equipment, the services and subscriptions
Power.
we do, just the pure electric bill of running this thing. I've compromised that now. We got solar. We got the entire studio running on solar power now, including the air conditioner, which I'm very excited
Hopefully,
about.
but it's raining.
But then there's like we're about to go cover CinemaCon. That's going to cost us $1,000 a person just for the passes to go. Now we could get press passes, but the press passes do not get us full entry into having the full CinemaCon experience that I want to make sure we have and then communicate to our audience. So it's things like that. And then, you know, stuff like the fan screening we have coming up, stuff like when we got to replace cameras and gears, and like the fact that I got to spend the highest amount of money you possibly can on an internet connection. That even then sometimes fails me. I mean, so there's a lot of expenses. Then there's different avenues of revenue we have. There is the YouTube ads that we have that is still our number one primary revenue source. Now is our sponsorships, which is our number two ad revenue source. We make anywhere between, you know, $100 to $200 a day on the podcast feed. Then we get the tip questions that people send in for us doing mailbag and things like that. So yeah, one of these days I'll spend a good half hour breaking down how we run the finances and try to make sure we're always staying on the positive end of things. But one of my main principles, and I think you guys have seen this, is that the money that comes in I immediately turn it around and put it back into the show. So as we have our revenue growing, I'm bringing more people on and I'm paying people more. I mean, I'm not gonna put Ray on the spot, but one of the first things I do whenever we have revenue, like significant revenue increases, the first thing I do is I give Ray a raise, like every time. So Ray's always really happy.
I need it, baby.
And like we pay Rob more now than we've certainly ever paid Rob before, and we're able to pay Chris more now than we've ever paid her before, and we're able to pay Aaron more now than we've ever paid her before, and all that kind of stuff. So.
But you're making a TV show. Just because it's on YouTube, this could be the Today Show. And the Today Show probably costs 60 or 70 grand a day to produce. You're making a daily 2.5 hour long television show. It just happens to be on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's expensive to do when you try to do it right. And we try to put all the money back into the show to give our audience, whether it means better mics, better cameras, better lights, whatever we can do to make our viewers' experience watching and participating in our show a better experience.
Look at the studio.
Yeah.
You remodeled part of your house specifically to be a studio.
Well, and I've worked for some other channels and stuff too, and something that I think y'all need to know is that the level of support that's at this channel too is really, really wonderful. So not only does John make sure that we are all taken care of monetarily, and then also just like as people, because we're all people first, it's just really, really nice to work at a place that you are treated well and you're valued.
Yes.
It's a huge difference because that's not always the case.
You're so right about that,
worked
Sarah.
for some clunkers.
Thank
oh
you
my
so much
gosh,
for that.
how rude! I say
sorry,
the
what's your name
nicest
again?
thing about you.
Oh, I know, Sarah. That was a nice thing to say.
Everyone here sucks, and I take back everything nice.
There's something else too about
Don't
this
leave,
channel.
Debbie.
I mean, there's something else. Like we all like you are a working voiceover artist. You're a working actor. Aaron is a working actor. I'm certainly a working filmmaker.
Yeah.
John brings institutional knowledge of YouTube that not many people have. John, you go all the way back. You were talking about. You read a movie blog that you wrote 19 years ago on the show the other day.
Yeah.
19 about Tobey Maguire or about Christian Bale getting cast as Batman.
June or July of 2003, I made my first movie blog post.
So you've been doing this for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So unlike, and this is not just to toot our own horns, but we are bringing that knowledge, and not every YouTuber has that.
Yeah.
So
I was tired of being a gigolo too.
You were real good at it though, Ryan. Making paper.
That way, sometimes you get too
Making
old.
paper, making ladies smile.
Oh,
Can't get too old. Can't really.
no wonder Manscaping sponsors this channel.
Yeah.
It's a tough life.
Well, I saw you mentioned everyone else's former or current.
hard out
career.
there.
Well,
for a pimp, right?
I didn't want to know if you wanted that out there. So as long as you're going to reveal that.
All right, listen, we have some more questions we got to get to here before we wrap up today. Okay, what's next?
Mike Joyce loved the spirited debate yesterday. Is Ray okay? Are you
Ray's
okay?
good. Ray's good. Yeah, no, Rob and I were talking about it after we love it when we can get into we can get some really good debates and stuff like that. And listen, it's always great too because I know when we get in these debates, I know Rob is going to bring up some excellent points. I know Aaron's going to bring up some excellent points when she was on the show yesterday. I know I'm going to bring all the right points. It's always good to have that good kind of debate. So it's always fun. No, it's always fun. We love having those types of discussions. All right, what's next?
Great.
Elizabeth Arado. Speaking of behind the scenes, yesterday, have you guys seen Assembled on Disney Plus? It's behind the scenes doc about the new TV movies. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they do a new one, don't they? What is that? What they call the ones that after WandaVision was dropped, they put out a? Is it? Do they call that?
I think that was still in
It's
Assembled.
called Assembled.
Is it called that Assembled? Yeah, they do some pretty good stuff on that.
Really good.
Oh, I watched the Hawkeye one last night.
Oh, did you?
After Free Guy. It's
How
pretty
was
good.
it?
I like all those. They're pretty
See,
good.
you should make more special feature stuff. Although, just like the Mandalorian one really frustrated me when they didn't talk about the Luke appearance. I think they did later on, but they did when they first came out. They made the Wanda one, the WandaVision one, and not talk about the one thing that everybody talking about the most, which was the Quicksilver fake out. They didn't even touch it or address it.
No.
That one frustrated me.
You know
All right.
why?
No, why?
Because they're not done with
Oh,
it
they're
yet.
done with it. They're done with it. All right, what's next?
Kevin Chili Malone. I'm very excited to hear about Rob losing his Office V card. I truly hope he was wined, dined, and 69'd.
I have no idea what that.
No, the Office.
The Office.
V-card.
Yeah, the Office. The show, not our office, but the
Wine,
Office.
dined, and 69. You know what? I appreciate you looking out for my needs.
That guy's name says it all. Kevin Chili Malone.
All right, what's next?
Tacky75, in the trailer, when Strange crashes into the animated universe, he turns into a cartoon himself.
I didn't see him turn into a cartoon himself. I did notice the cartoon world in the background, but I didn't notice him. But it could very well be there, Taki. I'll have to take another look at that. All right, what's next?
John Redcorn again. Let's get Black Adam and Peacemaker Season 2, Rock versus Cena.
Yeah, somebody else brought that up before. The problem is that's a real short fight. Black Adam versus Peacemaker is a real short fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, what's next?
Victor Edbum. What's your favorite scene in a Jim Carrey movie? Mine is the rhino scene from Ace Ventura 2. I can't stop laughing when I watch
Don't
it.
laugh. As soon as you start asking the question, my mind went there. Because Ace Ventura 2 is terrible. It is terrible. But that moment, oh my God, that moment is so funny. I don't know, listen, Jim Carrey, whether you're talking Dumb or Dumber or The Mask or what, he has some absolutely fantastic hilarious scenes. Like the dance number between him and Cameron Diaz in the first Mask. As the juke music is playing and stuff like that.
Good.
So funny. But that rhino moment's pretty damn funny. Do you
It's
guys have
really
one that
fun.
stands out to you?
Probably Truman Show.
Yeah, I love Truman Show.
I mean, probably when he realizes and breaks free from his confinement.
My parents used to live near that town. It's where they filmed it, Seaside, Florida. It's bananas when you go there.
Really?
No
Yeah.
way.
It's so creepy. The first time I took my husband there, he was like, "What the fuck is happening? Why are we here?
That's crazy.
Are you a real person?" It's the
All right,
best.
what's next?
Danito, how are you guys going to handle questions about Multiverse of Madness?
It's the same thing. Like there have been other movies that have come out that we saw things for and we knew things about. And I'll simply say, like, if a question comes up that touches up or bumps up against something that we already know, I'll just kind of mention, it's like, you know what? I already saw some things that if I answered would either give you a positive or a negative understanding there. And so I just need to pass on it. And that's what we'll do for Multiverse.
I think we
Madness.
should just make stuff up. Because
It's
who's
just
to say
camouflage?
that it wasn't in some multiverse?
Well, no,
that it
because then
happened?
our audience wouldn't know if they could trust what we're saying moving forward. Like,
I know.
But no, our audience always has to know that they can
Only
trust
about
what we're
this. No,
saying.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
We'll
it would
lie.
be tough. It'll be tough. But I'll give you the heads up that, hey, this is a question that an answer would bump up against knowledge that we actually have, and so therefore need to just pass on the question. You know what I mean? So that's how we'll try to handle that moving forward. All right, what's next?
T-Bone, hey gang, curious about your thoughts on Deep Space Nine. I love it. What are your favorite episodes in the cards for
Well,
me?
we don't have a lot of time here because we're almost out of time to go deep into Deep Space Nine, but Deep Space Nine was great. It was really, really wonderful. I mean, it's a tale of two shows for me because it's a show that became great.
Yes.
To me, but it's a absolute worthy. I mean, I still have Enterprise. I still have Next Generation as the best of the post original series shows, but it was really, really good.
I also think the 6th season of Deep Space Nine is overall the strongest season of modern Star Trek of any season. And you want to look at great episodes like In the Pale Moonlight, The Visitor, Homefront. I mean, there's so many great episodes of Deep Space Nine.
All right, what's next?
O'Day Alyamani, nipple watch.
Yeah, no nipples to be found on on Pattinson's Batman suit.
Hey, John, Rob, Chris, and Ray. I'm so excited for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, especially after watching you guys talk about what you've seen.
Yeah, all we can say is that damn, what we did see
Bro.
is very exciting. And it's got us, like, I'm already excited for Multiverse of Madness, and I'm even more excited now. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for us all to see it. All right, what's next?
Ginger Beef Jr., who sends one of two, but I can't find the second one. Hi, John, Rob, and crew. Love you guys, and I watch daily.
Oh, thank you, man.
About Netflix's Marvel shows coming to Disney Plus in Canada in today's episode, Disney Plus in California does have parental controls, which you're required to set it up to watch Star Wars?
Or Star.
Well, they've got Star as their thing. That's
yeah,
the
Star.
parental
Oh.
control.
Right, but that's not in California.
That's in Canada. I think you meant CA as
Oh,
in
CA.
Canada.
Oh, he probably means
Canada?
TSA.
Okay.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense, Ginger Beef. Yeah, like, and that's the difference, right? There are some international markets, apparently including Canada, where they have that Star section, right? Because those territories don't have Hulu. Here in the States where they have Hulu, they tend to put that there. But are they going to kind of merge that in? Don't know. That's what we've got to find out. So thanks for giving us that update, Ginger Beef Jr. Appreciate that very much, man. All right, what's next?
Addison, my issue with not showing film editing during the show with the whole speech is, what are films without editing? The same can be said without score.
Irrelevant. That doesn't matter. What are films without hair and makeup? What are films without costume? Look, all the disciplines that go into making movies are vitally important. This is not the Oscars saying this is what we say is important or not. This is the Oscars acknowledging what is important to the audience and isn't. And sorry, that's just the way it is. I had actually a conversation with a friend of mine on the phone last night. That was, well, if they give a little bit less attention to the disciplines of film editing or hair and makeup, then the audience won't gain an appreciation for them. So they've had 75 years to gain an appreciation for them with them being as part of the Oscars and broadcasting the regular live thing. And it hasn't worked. What makes things going to work now? But again, I just want to emphasize to people, they have not taken them out of the Oscars. They're going to be there and in the Oscars. And before throwing the panic button and running around like Chicken Little declaring that the sky is falling, let's wait to see what they have in mind. Because I have a feeling, and I might be dead wrong about this, but I have a feeling when we watch the show, we're not going to feel too terribly much of a difference. I really don't. Now, I could be wrong about that. We may watch this and I might be going, oh my God, that was a bloody mess. Like the train station thing last year. And maybe I will, in which case they got to change it. But until they do, I'm just seeing these narratives running around, Rob, and people saying, can you believe they took this out of the Oscars? Time out. They didn't take it out of the Oscars. Well, they took it out of the show. No, they didn't. It just, when those things get awarded, it won't be live. And how big or little of an impact that's going to be, let's wait and see. Because I have a feeling we're not going to notice it too much. But then again, I may be singing a completely different song the day after the Oscars. We'll find out. All right, what's next?
Daya Al-Sharor. Fun trivia. If Ariana DeBose wins, it'll be the third time that 2 different actors have won an Oscar for playing the same character. The other 2 are Vita Corleone and Joker.
Now, she's the one who plays the younger version of Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter?
This would be her winning for
playing Rita
Anita
Moreno's.
in West Side Story.
yes, because Rita Moreno won that's right.
Anita.
And there was talk that Rita Moreno may have came close to getting a nomination herself, which really would have been interesting because she might have become the first actress to be nominated for an Academy Award for playing 2 different characters in the same original story. Or would it have been? Yeah, I think it would have been. No, Rocky. No, because that's a continuation of the story. It wasn't a remake. It was just a continuation of it. So I don't know, might have been the first time ever. All right, well pointed out, Dea. All right, what's next?
Rasha Jasim just sends in a super chat to support.
Thank you, man.
Michael Pacheco finished Arcane Season 1. So dope. What are you looking forward to in Season 2? P.S. Love Jinx.
Anything they're going to do.
Yeah, that show is so cool.
It's in my opinion, it's the best animated series ever. At least for me. I have and that wasn't it's based on a video game and it's going to be I watched it. It is the Game of Thrones of the animated world. It is, to me, it is the best animated TV series ever. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's what it is to me. I just loved it, and I have no idea what they're going to do in the second season. Don't even really care. All I know is that they've shown they can tell great stories, and I'm there for whatever stories they want to tell. All right, what's next?
Now we're just closing out with some support. Noah AG, FPV Forever, and Chris Wall, who sends in $27.12.
For a split second, I thought he sent in $2,712. Is that little dot got lost in there. But thank you for that, Chris, very much, as well as to all you guys. And thank you to all of you for joining us in with today's episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much, guys, for making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of you guys who sent in those comments and questions. Number 1, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number 2, you supported this channel as you did it, making it possible for us to do the show at all. I want to thank everybody sitting in the room, going around the circle. We, of course, have Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, Ray Ora, Chris Carr, and myself, John Campea. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.